Yeah, we don't hold it against them at all. I mean, that nighttime schedule, that night work schedule is just a beast, man.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, we miss having you on, but we totally understand it. Derek, what's up? All right, let's start.
Derek, hello.
Let's
Derek,
start
you are also a
episode
person.
episode 20, 120. Geez, episode 120. That's the best way to do it. Is tell Kyle how much we miss him and just give Derek a general greeting. That's how we'll do it. Listen, there's not as much news this week as there was last week, but there's still a lot to go through just because there was a lot of announcements. And then what?
I was just gonna say there's actually even more important news because it's Final Fantasy related.
Right.
So.
Well,
I
guess
guess about equal.
two
No,
times ago we
it's
had, I
more
guess it was
important.
2
No,
weeks
it's not
ago
more
we had
important.
Final
More
Fantasy
important.
16, and then within 2 weeks we've got the new Final Fantasy 7 step and that remake process.
Emphasis on
project.
fine. in Final Fantasy.
Jeff, I will literally rip your arms off and beat you to death with them. All right, Tim, continue.
It's
So,
fine.
we got a lot of that stuff
Fine.
to talk about. Some new stuff that we've been playing, some really fun stuff.
It is fun.
Especially, we'll talk about Ninja Turtles because that is just pure fun, and I want to talk about that a little bit. But we'll kick things off with a few things that we're watching, just because that's a good way to ease into it. And I just today, actually, the last 2 days, because of Jeff, I've been watching through the Dark Side of the Ring on Hulu, and doing some flashback to some old wrestling stuff that I kind of knew and had
Wrestling.
heard about, but I didn't really know the real story, like the Von Erichs. I kind of had heard that name. I knew of their family name a little bit from like the
Mhm.
80s. I just didn't really know much about them. And so that's, of course, a very tragic, super sad, but very interesting story. So I do recommend it. If you're at all a WWF, WWE fan for the newer fans, I highly recommend it. It's really interesting. So good recommendation there.
WWF.
I love that show
forever.
so much.
Yeah, it's really, really, and it's just well done. So yeah.
Incredibly well done. And I don't know how much longer they're going to be doing it because I feel like they've kind of hit every critical story. Like once you do Benoit and Owen Hart, it's kind of like you don't really need to do much more.
Yeah, they did yet another version of the Montreal Screwjob, which I've heard that story told probably like 5 different times in different settings, podcasts or other documentaries, and it's still an interesting story. The one new thing here was to hear Scott Hall, R.I.P. He was saying that he still, to the point of that interview, was still convinced to that day that it was entirely planned. Even Bret Hart knew about it. I thought that was an interesting take, because he kind of like, he doesn't go super in depth, but he just kind of explains why he thinks it was all planned out. It actually worked really well because it allowed Vince McMahon to launch into one of the best heels in wrestling history as the corporate bad guy.
Yeah, that's when he became a regular on television
so
after that.
Yeah. No idea. Like, I think Bret Hart is too sincere and too
he doesn't.
I think he's too honest to
he
be
doesn't
that
strike
kind of
me as somebody that would hide something like that for so long and stay in character about it if it was all planned out but he still clearly harbors some grudges. I mean, he kind of buried the hatchet. He did come back to WWE years later, so he kind of buried the hatchet, but I mean before that it was just nonstop talking crap.
I mean, the part of the story that I keep hearing, and apparently there was a lot of witnesses, so it's true, Vince was waiting for Bret to talk to him as he comes out of the shower, so Bret Hart completely naked punches Vince McMahon. Like, it's that part of the story is still so funny.
Part of the story is crazy.
That should have been on Raw or SmackDown, right?
Yeah.
They had no choice. I mean, because it was legit. That's my take on it, at least.
And then Val Venus is in the background with his hands behind his head.
Yeah.
Al Snow's like, what does everybody want?
Yeah. These guys were not characters yet. You guys got to remember that didn't happen until Vince
You're right.
I mean,
was a bad guy character.
Actually, it was right around that time, though, right? Because it was 97, and Val Venus and those guys started to pop up.
I think
a couple years later.
Screwjob kind of kickstarted a lot of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that episode's so great. Because, I've heard it on podcasts and reading about it online. Like, I've heard that story so many times, and then to hear Jim Cornette and Vince Russo interviewed, and they hate each other so much.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It was just
Jim
very
even
interesting
said at
because
the
they
end,
were in
his
the room.
quote at the end was that I told my wife that if she loves me, if I'm in a wheelchair, I don't care what it is. As soon as Vince is dead, you're gonna wheel me out to his grave so I can piss on it. Like he hates him so much.
He hates him so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's not
It's
in
a
the
really
grave
good show.
yet.
Where are you on the show? Are you in season 1?
I'm just in season 1. Yeah, working my way through season. But
I feel like every season that show has been just, I don't know, just getting better and better at what they do.
Oh,
like
cool.
even with topics that I'm like, who is this guy? Like, there's a deathmatch king in Japan I didn't know anything about. He ran his own promotion that was just death matches. Like, I don't even think they used ring ropes. It was just
death matches.
Sometimes it would be barbed wire. Sometimes it would be nothing.
Just like bloody craziness.
Yeah, bloody, and like obviously there's like trickery and circus act stuff involved with explosions, but they would do like exploding barbed wire death matches.
Jeez.
Well, I had never heard of the Bruiser Brody who got stabbed in the locker room by another wrestler, and that other wrestler ended up getting off. He got off scot-free after a Puerto Rican, judge decided it's fine. It was self-defense, even though there was a witness who said, "I watched you call him over. And then I saw the knife that you stabbed him with. And he bled to death, and like his intestines were out. He had like several deep slashes.
Ooh. And the
show went on that night. Everyone pretended like, oh, it was a crazy fan before the show must have stabbed him.
What? Jesus.
Yeah. The cops were I remember them saying that in the moment when everything was going down, they kind of had to convince the cops it wasn't a storyline because they were so aware.
They thought it was.
They were so aware that wrestling was like its own story. So
with those are just some of the early episodes I'm talking about, because I'm just slowly working my way. It's one of those shows I put on as I'm doing the dishes, or maybe I'm outside pushing the kids on the swing and I'm holding my phone kind of watching it, as I push them on the swing. I was doing that a little bit today. That's very real. That was very real.
As they go flying off the swing, you're like, you're doing great, honey.
They're like, Daddy, slow down. I'm like, shh, Bret Hart, baby, Bret Hart.
Bret Hart's talking now.
But anyway, all that to say, I do highly recommend it if you're a wrestling fan at all.
It's really good. And
speaking of
so far.
Speaking of documentaries, looks like someone else is watching a mockumentary, which I'm all aboard. I'm all about this. What is this?
This is a fakey one. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of American Vandal. It was on Netflix for a couple seasons.
Sounds familiar.
The first season, they're both. This new show, Players, is by the same team. But American Vandal, the first season's about somebody who's going around drawing wieners in high school. And the documentary crew is going to get to the bottom of it. And they use they treat it like a real crime drama.
I love it.
That's the part of the humor is like they treat it so seriously. They take the documentary aspect so seriously that it's part of the joke. Like it's really funny. Sure. And then I think the second season was about somebody who like kept clogging toilets and they were trying to.
The whole season brilliant. About that one mystery.
They were trying to find out who the guy was that kept filling everything with poo or whatever. And
Dixon poo.
That's an example. That's on Netflix. Netflix canceled it wrongfully, in my opinion. They could have gone for at least another 3 years. So they've jumped over to Paramount Plus. They have a show called Players now, which is about esports, and it follows like a specific team that plays esports. I don't know what the game is. I don't even know if they said it. I think it's just a game, and it looks like League of Legends or something. But the main character is his name is Cream Cheese. He's like the head of the team, and then this new guy comes in. His name's Organism with a Z, not
Organism.
Organism with a Z, and he barely talks. He's like a young kid, and he's like the new hotness. And Cream Cheese, very loud, very obnoxious.
Cream Cheese is so gross. That's such a gross nickname.
I know, it's such a dumb name. Actually, the guy who the Organism kid, his name is actually PJ, but they don't call him PJ because that's his name. They call him that because it's. They call him PJ stands for piss jar.
Sure.
He would game so much he would just have jars of piss everywhere.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Well, it's destiny. It's destiny.
It's
you've already got me sold on this show right now.
It's so dumb. I love it. They got the first 4 episodes out so far.
It's on Paramount Plus. Okay.
Yes, and it's like a half-hour comedy. And they treat it like this one, like American Vandal was making a spoof on crime docuseries. This is a spoof on like sports docuseries because they treat, again, this is another added layer to the humor. The coach character of the team will come in and start yelling at one of the players about, what was that play? And they're like treating it like it's a real play, and it's just freaking gaming. So like that's another added layer to the humor is like,
sure.
They up the characters think the stakes are very high and very real. But like in the audience's brain, you're like, this is really silly. They're yelling at each other about a game or whatever. And I'm not, not to downplay anybody that might be listening that's an esports player or whatever. I know they take it very seriously, but it's just contextually,
right?
It's it comes off really silly, especially when they're playing it as silly on the show. It's a very enjoyable show so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it now on the app here. I'm adding it to my watch list here.
Sweet. You have Paramount Plus?
Yeah.
It's good stuff, I think. I mean, if you're a Star Trek fan, for sure, absolutely.
Because it's all kind of under that actually don't know who the top level umbrella company would be, but I had a subscription to 24/7 Sports, which is owned by CBS, Viacom, I assume. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyway, having access to that, I actually, hopefully no one that works there is listening. But I canceled that. I like to keep up with like college football and recruiting, and they do have some really cool like articles if you subscribe. So I like that. But anyway, all that to say, I canceled it, but the tie-in subscription to Paramount Plus stayed active. I don't know if it was a glitch in the system or what, but I still have full access to everything like I normally would, as if it's paid. So I'm no longer currently paying 24/7 Sports, but for some reason the connection with CBS, as they were connecting all the dots through their different platforms, which as someone who does that kind of work sometimes across websites and platforms, that's complex stuff. I could see users like me slipping through the cracks as I'm canceling, as you're connecting the pieces over a period of time. I can see that happening. So I'm not going to touch the account. No updates. I'm leaving it for as long as I can.
The second this episode posts on Monday, you're going to check the account and be like, shit.
Hey, CBS listens. Sweet. Anyway, I'm going to check that one out. But I'm curious to hear about Lightyear. So Lightyear, of course, being the new Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Is this in theaters only right now?
Theaters only right now, yeah. For once, they finally put a Pixar movie in a theater. It has quite literally been since before the pandemic that they did that. Because I think Luca was Disney Plus. Yep. Soul was Disney Plus, if you can believe it. That movie freaking rules. And Turning Red was Disney Plus, yeah. So pretty much everything Pixar has been just on Disney Plus. But so yeah, Lightyear's like finally, it's been light years. That's not a thing. That's not a unit measurement of time. Anyway, it's distance. So this is a movie that is very confusing to explain to people. And even as you're watching the movie, you're a little confused because some characters say things from the Toy Story movies. And you're like, but those characters wouldn't say that because they're not the toys that come alive in the Toy Story, whatever. So the premise is this is based on a movie that the main kid from Toy Story saw when he was younger, Andy. This is based on, or it is the movie that Andy allegedly saw.
And then bought the toy.
He bought the toy.
The mom bought the toy. Yeah.
Exactly. The mom bought the toy for Andy.
Okay.
Based
on that's what I was missing, Jeff.
Yeah.
So this is a movie based on a character from a movie we've seen that's in a movie in that movie.
Yeah.
And the kid has the toy
in the world. If you imagine you live in the Toy Story world, this is basically a movie that exists in that world.
Would this be a Toyception or?
It's like Toyception, pretty much.
Definitely,
it's a few layers there.
Yeah.
It's pretty enjoyable. There's some good humor in it. Taika Waititi plays one of the crewmates.
Oh yeah.
Who's actually pretty funny. And there's like this new. Well, he's definitely gonna be everybody. I would think most people's favorite part of the movie is this Sox character, SOX, and he is a like a robot cat, but he can do anything. He's like a Swiss Army cat.
He was the highlight of the trailers, I thought.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm sold.
Yeah. So he is definitely quite funny. Like they tell him to, hey, give me something, whatever. They tell him to basically cough up a tool of some kind, like a hammer or something. I don't know. I can't remember what it was specifically, but he's like, okay, and he just starts coughing up like a furball. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. So there's like a lot of cat humor in there too. They plug in. So it's funny. It's enjoyable. It's just really breezy. You would not guess this was a Pixar movie, other than the fact that it's a Pixar character that's involved, and a lot of his toys and this ship. His suit does take the full Buzz form eventually, and you eventually see the ship that Andy had. It's like I think closer to the end of the movie. There's some good characters in it, but like it's a lighter Pixar movie in that, you know, Pixar movies tend to tug at the heartstrings real hard, like with Inside Out and Soul especially. I mean, I was just a ball of tears. I was just a puddle of tears during those movies. But Lightyear is like
more fun.
It's just fun, you know? Yeah. And like any important character moments kind of happen almost entirely in the back third of the movie. So like the third act, closer to the end of the second act. So it kind of like those character beats are kind of a little rushed compared to other Pixar movies. And there is some there is a montage in there that can kind of remind you of the beginning of Up, but it's not nearly as like
right. Yeah, no, that's devastating.
Yeah, exactly.
That's such
I'm
completely
a
devastating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't even get to the opening, like the title screen from that movie.
Yeah. And then the rest of the movie is like fun, that's the thing with Up is really strange.
But it's still
like, everybody talks about the opening.
But they still call back to that from time to time, and it's like, I remember.
My heart hurts thinking about the opening of Up, but the rest of the movie, it's fun, it's fine, Lightyear is like everything in Up after the opening.
Sure.
That's a good comparison, because Up is a really fun movie when you get past that opening.
Yeah.
But there's no emotionally hard-hitting parts in Lightyear, kind of like there isn't in the rest of Up, in my opinion, at least. Still a good movie. Kids will love it. They'll love it to pieces. Yeah. Especially Socks. They'll be like, can we just get one of those cat robots now? Or
dude, there has to be. There has to be like some $100 like really like animatronic like fully voiced like toy of it.
That's the thing. They kind of made him look a little cheap, like he could be a practically made thing at some point in the near future.
All right.
Much like a what's the soccer ball from the Star Wars sequel trilogy?
Oh, BB-8.
BB-8, yeah. Where like you see him and you're like, that could practically be a thing, like
it is
a soccer ball toy. Like, I mean,
you can get you can make a droid. I think at Disney in one of the Star Wars. I don't know if it's in both Orlando and Anaheim, Disneyland, Disney World, but you can like make your own. You can make your own droids and lightsabers.
I gotta go to one of those places, whichever one's closer to the Potter world, because that's what I really want to go to.
You're gonna want to go to World for sure.
Oh, okay. So
Disney
Florida.
In Florida. Yeah.
Because Harry Potter World there is dude, it's especially
that's where it opened here stateside, right? Like that's
I think so.
And when you take the train between the two different Potter worlds, the two different sections, dude, it is sick because cool. you got the like, so it's like you're on an actual train. It is going between each section, but like the windows that would normally be windows are basically screens. So like there's stuff happening like on the opposite side, and then you see the Dementors like it's
the Dementors.
Sick, dude. It's freaking sick. So
that
awesome.
Is cool.
That's cool. All right, well, we'll be checking that one out probably when it's on Disney Plus. Not in a rush to see Lightyear.
This one is a good one for Disney Plus, in my opinion.
Not in a rush to see it, but we'll see it at some point. I haven't been watching much. Oh, Dan, have you been watching anything else?
I just wanted to get, because you guys were just talking about wrestling a second ago. So I was at my brother-in-law's, soon-to-be brother-in-law's bachelor party last night, and we were watching, I think it was WrestleMania 16 with The Rock and Stone Cold.
Okay.
So shout out to that, because
who knows?
Because I never like ever ordered really pay-per-view or anything, but I definitely remember snippets of that, and it was just, we watched it front to back that whole match, and it's a sick match, dude.
That'd be 20 years ago, right? Wasn't this year 36?
I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, so that was the year 2000. Yeah.
Yeah, 2000. Well, yeah, it was it's like Vince comes out, and I think it's like when Stone Cold first goes heel.
So that was 17 then.
Was it? Okay.
16 was a triple threat. Sorry, it was a four-way match that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
Stone Cold was hurt, so he couldn't partake.
Yeah, so it was 17, but yeah, that's a great match.
Yeah, that's the one where Stone Cold turned heel, and everybody was like, "Oh, come on!" And then he made it a hilarious bad guy, so it kind of worked out. You wouldn't have
he was still just as loved. He just was a heel now.
Yeah, he was just attacking the fan favorite.
But man, just the dedication in that match, and like they cut, obviously they do the cut themselves because they each take a belt to the face. And there's just blood just dripping down their face, dude, and it's just like, oh damn, like
only AEW does the blood stuff now. Well,
and I'm telling you, man, like one of the roughest ones. If you watch Shane versus Kurt Angle,
jeez,
the Shane Kurt Angle fight. I think they had a couple fights, but their big one, I don't know if it was WrestleMania. It was at one of the pay-per-views.
No, it was like a SummerSlam type of King of the Ring. It might have been actually
insane. I mean, it was, both of them went through crazy stuff, but Shane especially. We talked about this before. He just
Shane is a
he was even when he came back after years of being gone and started doing matches again. He would only do matches that had stipulations that made you, being an educated person on what Shane does, just go, oh, he's going to jump off of something. Like, like his first match back was a Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker, and I'm like, oh, he's going to jump off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nothing quite compares to when Undertaker first tossed Mankind off, and JR is screaming like, "God is my witness, he's broken in half."
My God, he killed him. He killed him.
That's the best. That's cool, man. Yeah, lots of fun wrestling throwback stuff. That's not to say there's not good wrestling on now. I know the AEW and all that kind of stuff, but it is really fun. For the same reason I like to go back and play old games, which we'll transition to in a second. Sometimes the nostalgia of going back and revisiting that stuff is just too good.
I haven't actually sat down and watched wrestling in forever. Like probably basically since Stone Cold like fully stopped. So that was, many years ago. So like watching that, like I felt like I was like 15 again. It was actually pretty fun. So
I always thought like I would sit down almost like seasons of a show, and I don't want to watch every episode of Raw or SmackDown in a row. That's crazy. That's too much. But I would do if someone put together the whole DX storyline and anytime they were involved, or like everything with The Rock, you know what I mean? Like if they just did. And I know they've had some documentaries where they highlight stuff, but man, it'd be really cool. Like I would actually watch full seasons of. All right, here's everything DX did from start to finish. Here's everything.
I'd watch Stone Cold, the whole Stone Cold storyline.
Yeah,
I think the coolest thing that AEW does is they put their pay-per-views in theaters, and I don't think WWE does that yet, but they have a partnership with like Cinemark and AMC and stuff.
That's smart.
And so like AEW still does for now. They mostly only do 4 pay-per-views a year. Whereas WWE is like sometimes they'll do 2 a month, and you're like, come on, guys, nobody has that type of time.
Yeah,
you don't have time to build a match.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
But AEW like smartly does it like once every quarter, and it's actually cheaper to go to the movie theater than it is to stay home and pay like $40-$50 for it. Yeah. So instead, I get like a $20 ticket to a movie theater. And I'm surrounded by people that are also there to see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool to be in the room with people that are hyped to see that too.
I mean, that's a situation where I totally would spend a good amount of money on concessions to sit there and snack and talk and have fun watching.
I went to concession last time. I went to one. Wasn't that long ago. It was like last February or this February. Mm-hmm. Last time I went to, you go to concession like twice because the pay-per-view is like 5 hours long. Yeah. So I mean,
you got to reload at some point.
Exactly. And it's cool because like people that are there, some people are like way more energetic and loud than others. Like I'm just, I'll react to things. Like if I see a ridiculous spot, my instinct is to laugh or go, oh crap, like especially if something looks like it hurts. But there are people that are doing all the chants and stuff, like
wow.
See, there's a dude that says his name during his intro and they'll say his name with him, like
but that's the only time it's acceptable to talk.
It is.
Yeah. It's fun. It's they kind of liven it up a little bit for me.
Here's the question.
All of us sitting there in silence, just like
outside of COVID related concerns, would you high five a stranger in a scenario like that if something really amazing happened? If they kind of looked at you and they had the hand up, would you reciprocate?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Okay. Yeah.
Would you initiate the high five?
No, I'm not a person that initiates social anything.
So here's how I do it. I don't force the high five.
I'm that person, but I don't want to go.
If I feel like, let's say we've been watching it for a little bit, maybe you're 2 seats away, right? And I don't know you, but we're both just watching it. We're just kind of, we're riding solo that night. We got snacks. We're kind of just like, oh, that was cool. Like, and we've had a couple little like verbal or eye contact moments where it's like, dude, that's great.
When you're sitting there for 5 hours.
If we've had a couple of those moments and then something happens, I might be like, dude, that was sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
Tim's way more into hanging out with people than we are.
They don't end up being sold out. So like, you end up being spaced out from a lot of people. But there was one point where somebody sat like 4 seats down from me. And we're just exclaiming things to each other, kind of like
that's awesome.
Casually as matches are happening. We're like, I cannot believe this crap is happening. That type of stuff, where you just say a lot
like, my God, he broke him in half.
Yeah,
God is my witness.
Doing color commentary basically, and JR is a commentator in AEW, so he still does.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He still does his old. He still does all of the says all the things he usually says.
My God.
Whenever a woman, a bad guy, a heel female wrestler does something dastardly, he's like, that Jezebel. I'm like, oh, that's only JR says that. Only JR says that. That no good Jezebel.
Well, man, speaking of nostalgia and lots of high fives, I played a lot of video games with my kids this weekend. And, you beat a level and it's crazy and the action on the screen is nuts and you finally beat this boss. And then you just go around high-fiving everybody. Because, some of the kids are discouraged because they didn't have the highest kill count and to get any special recognition. You know, at the end, we'll talk about TMNT in a second, but at the end, if it recognizes you in any way in any game, any kid who feels like they're not getting, you know, at the top of any kind of list, most kills, most points, whatever the game is that you're playing, or first place in a racing game, whatever, they do start to feel down. So you got to high five everybody. Like, oh, that moment was cool. Like, you have to kind of, otherwise you're going to have someone slowly just sing into the couch or just disappear on the corner. Like, hey, you don't leave. Now we got an empty controller. That's annoying. Get back over
here. That's good dad energy, Tim. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got to maintain it if you want to finish the game. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge just released this past week. 100% recommend it. Even if you don't have Game Pass, go buy it on whatever platform you prefer. From what I've read and seen, it runs pretty well on everything. It's not a super demanding game. Although, when you're playing with lots of other players, like we played 5-player through this entire game, start to finish, and there are moments where the screen is incredibly full. A lot is happening.
There's a lot going on.
On my Xbox One X, which is the only Xbox console that I still have, I don't have the series yet. It's the Xbox One X. It did have moments where I think it was trying to, like, everyone's triggering their special move all at the same time, and it's trying to show me an achievement that someone just unlocked.
Sure.
and it's telling me like some challenge that we didn't complete because we used too many special moves or whatever. Like, all these things are happening at once, and I can't tell if the game is kind of slowing down to help you as everyone's activating their moves, or if the game is slowing down because it has to.
It's having a heart attack.
It doesn't look like it's stuttering. It more looks like it just kind of pauses and then goes. So it doesn't look like stuttering I've seen in other games. But anyway, I do think play it on the highest powered thing you've got if you're gonna have other people to play with. Do that.
We were playing last night. Shout out to the bachelor party again. We played some Shredder's Revenge. We had 6 dudes going. So that was just utter madness. When an achievement popped up on, he has a Series X. When the achievement popped up, it did like freeze for a second. Okay, so I think it just does that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because it didn't feel like stuttery and we lost control or we got hit while that happened. It kind of everything paused to do that, and then it keeps going.
Right.
But anyway, let's go to what we think about the game. Dan, you played 6-player. What do you think about this game?
It's freaking madness, dude. Yeah, it's honestly almost too much, because it's just like, and I'm gonna guess that they sort of have bigger health bars, bigger health pools, the enemies or whatever, because
probably.
Then an hour ago, my wife and I were just the two of us were playing, and we got to the Rat King, and we definitely beat the Rat King faster than 6 of us did. So I'm guessing the Rat King had more health, obviously, with 6 dudes going at him. But that's what she said. Yeah, I mean, it's 10. I give it 10 cowabungas out of 10. It's just nostalgia. It's awesome. It's just the intro is corny. It's cheesy and fun. It's the classic TMNT cartoon, but like it's a different band doing it. Like,
it's a new version.
I don't totally love it, but it's still fun because it is that song. So
it sounds like the same band 30 years older singing it.
Maybe,
to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't particularly love this rendition of it, but it's still really fun because it is the lyrics and it's the vibes of it, so it's still just super fun. And this game in general, obviously just being kind of like updated for sort of modern ideas or whatever, but it is the old Turtles in Time type of beat 'em up Ninja Turtle game. So if you ever did play that one, or really you just want a co-op game because there's just not a ton of these type of games that come out all the time, just play this game. It's fun as hell. It's just
the last few that I've played, Battletoads, Streets of Rage 4, and this have all been real good fun, and I think this one's the best out of all those.
Yeah, I agree.
They've all been real good fun, like a good time, colorful, great characters, great nostalgia. But this one is just like, dude, I don't know what it is, but they nailed the look and feel, like the way it plays. Kind of almost feels like a modern game in a lot of ways as you're playing.
I mean, there's like almost like sort of combo, like you learn more stuff, and there's actual like there's not just simply pressing square, even though that is what you're mostly doing. But like like I figured out a moment ago, because I kept doing this because I play as Leonardo, and he does this sort of spin like with the sword move, and it leaves sort of like this blue sort of thing when he does it, and I was like, how the hell was I doing that? And then I realized if I double tap X, which is the jump, if I double tap that and then attack immediately, that's how he does it. So there is almost sort of like a really simple combo system there, which is cool.
I do love that. Yeah.
The unlocks are pretty satisfying because whether it's an extra power meter you can build up, or or you can unlock like an aerial special move or a dashing special move. By the way, I used Splinter because my kids all wanted the turtles, so I used Splinter as the fatherly guidance.
Yeah, makes sense.
You're the math. You're the
that
math.
is the dad character.
Splinter is freaking awesome. Like he even part of his combo just as I'm playing on Xbox, so X or square on PlayStation. Just hitting that 4 times, he does a big bite as part of his combo. I was like, never knew Splinter to be so chompy.
There we go.
All right. But then his special move, like all these claw marks just start appearing in the screen. You've seen it, Dan, when you play player, I'm sure. But so claw marks over the place. But as you get to his dash special, which was towards the end, you have to level up a few times. I think level 5 or 6 or something. Basically mid dash, you aim one way and it's just this super powered like purple beam that shoots across the screen. And I was doing that essentially on every boss. I would just go to a corner, meditate. You can charge up your special move by hitting the right bumper.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
you didn't know that? Okay.
Didn't know that.
They have a
that's
taunt.
A taunt. Yeah, that's a taunt.
They have
button,
a taunt.
Oh, okay.
Fills that whole meter immediately if you can.
That's what the taunt does. Okay, because I did it once, but I wasn't.
I did the high five thing, which is the screenshot back here.
Yeah,
I did that during a boss fight, and then one of us died after.
You and April.
I was like, come on, I want to do it. I want to try it, and then like.
That's amazing.
And then like it was the final chapter. He shoots a beam out, and like I'm immediately like dead.
That's fantastic. That is so great.
Worth it.
Oh man.
Yeah. So learning some of that stuff has been cool. And then we just finished it tonight. Actually, we got to the end and defeated the boss. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to spoil any super secrets.
How many levels are there? I think
who was the boss in Shredder's Revenge?
I won't say. I will not say.
The main boss in Shredder's Revenge.
It actually gets real dark. You have to kill Splinter.
Sacrifice him to summon the turtle god.
There is a part at the end where you do get to Shredder, and he can kiss my ass. That's what I got to say.
This game definitely has that.
Are you talking about the green flame section?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
All of us just kept dying and trying to revive each other, and you can't because he just constantly has green crap coming out.
As a family, we were getting very upset with that final boss fight until we all were like, "Listen, just dodge until he does the orb move, then he'll get tired, then you attack, and then after that you just have to dodge because you can't hurt him."
Some patience.
Yeah. And it was like my first. Honestly, it felt good. It was my first time teaching my kids a Dark Souls type approach to a boss fight.
It was
patient, learn the pattern, because every other boss you literally just jump in and swing and swing.
Exactly. This is like an arcadey type game, and they even have an arcade mode. So you're used to just kind of button mashing, even though you do have more options in this game. So like when it comes to Shredder, you're like, oh, I got a freaking Dark Souls this. Are you kidding me?
I got a soul.
So there's 16 levels, although the last one, really the last 2 maybe, the last one at least is just the boss fight.
Okay. So we're pretty close there. I think we just got to 10. So
what's cool though is
I didn't even intentionally go to the last one. I just joined a public. I wanted to see what happened with 6 full players, and I joined a public game.
Nice.
And it just threw us into the chapter 16.
It's kind of fun with that many players, right? Like it's just chaos, and
it's so chaotic. It's so chaotic.
But my
really
kids kept comparing it to like Castle Crashers. Of course, that's only 4-player, but the similarities where the screen just gets full of enemies. Everyone's trying to pull off their moves, but you don't really steal from each other. Like everything you do can help people around you. Like it's just that's good game design where you can't of course friendly fire would be dumb in a game like this. You can't hurt each other, but also like you can feed off each other's combos. So even if one character actually killed an enemy and they kind of turn that shadowy color, like they kind of fade out, but they can still be hit for additional combos as you're bouncing.
Right.
Yeah.
A little touch like that surprisingly does a lot because it helps you build up your combo meter a lot faster, and I just think that's really good design. So they did a good job with that.
I've been mostly playing solo. I mean, I'm more than game to jump in with you guys or whatever, but like so on my solo playthrough, or I just alternate players every now and then. Actually, I started with Donatello and I thought he was a little slow, so I switched to Raph, and he's just got better attacks.
Dude, I love Donatello's taunt.
I haven't even tried it.
He plays a Game Boy. He turns around and goes, just a minute, and he plays
that was in the trailer, right? When he's hunched over, like playing.
Yeah. So my daughter loves Donatello. She thinks that bow staff is super cool. She's right. The bow staff is awesome. And but she also loves that. And she'll we'll be finishing off a huge room full of enemies. And I'm like, where did Nev go? And I just see Donatello up in the corner. She's playing the game. I'm like, you don't have to keep doing that. Like once was good. She's like, I like it. I was like, okay.
It is really funny. I would be doing that if I was a kid too. So I'm only 2 levels in. I beat the second one right before we recorded, and and it's cool that it's like I don't know. The game really wants you to play through it several times.
It does.
Because each level is like 5 minutes. I mean, level 2 was like 6 minutes. Took me to beat it solo.
Yeah, for most of them, at least with the 5 players that we had, it was averaging probably between 6 and 8 minutes per level. I don't know if enemies are tougher to beat or what it is.
Yeah,
but
I think they want you to beat it if you're doing couch co-op too, especially. I think they want you to beat it in like a couple hours, like it's a party game.
And we probably totaled over the last 2 days 3 hours, maybe 3.5. Somewhere in that range.
But they definitely want you to beat it, like you mentioned the upgrade stuff. They want you to beat it over and over again. Try to one up your score, do the challenge objectives, stuff like that. And
you can find kind of these little NPC characters you can free by essentially just busting open a door that's pretty obviously there for you to bust open.
Yeah,
and a character will pop out, and then after that level, it'll tell you, hey, now you can go find this, these whatever recordings or VHS tapes or articles. So like there's little collectibles you unlock the ability to now collect those as you go back through levels and
which is obviously a huge priority while I'm fighting the Foot Clan. Let me find your diaries, little girl. I mean,
one of my favorite moments. And it was a very innocent moment. This is why kids are just so fun to hang out with, because they're so funny like this. But the foot soldiers, their color changes as they get more challenging and as they have different move sets, And so then when a new shade, the new the foot soldiers, there's like they start as purple, I think those are the lowest level.
Right.
And then it works up from there. You get yellow, you get light blue with the swords. And then you get the ones that have the size like Raphael, and they're dressed all in black. And as that guy lands in, my son, one of my sons goes, "Oh no, a black guy."
Oh no.
Whoops. I was like, "Is that what you meant to say?" We all had a good laugh because we knew exactly what he meant. It was completely innocent. There was nothing about it. He would never have said that about an actual black person. But the fact that he said it there, but then of course he got embarrassed and got like teary eyed. And I was like, dude, it's fine. Like we're just messing around.
He was like, I love black people.
Yeah. One of his brothers is also black. Anyway. But anyway, I thought that was funny. What a great game! I really love it. The arcade mode adds in limited lives, limited continues, just and no saved progress. The idea is you're walking up to an arcade in your quarters to play through as much as you can in one sit down. So it kind of has that old school arcade approach.
Which if you if you have some of those arcades that are also bars, barcades, whatever, in your area, some of those are just you pay like a fee, like $10 at the door. And you can just play however long you want on any machine.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
One of those. I did that at the X-Men game. I played the entire thing. I refused to get up. I had carpal tunnel.
Isn't that the one they have like screens connected, like a wide, super wide screen, or is that a different one?
It was one full arcade game, but like it was definitely one of the larger ones that you put in the corner because it's got like. I don't know, it was like 8 players.
Jesus.
Yeah. So like you had the buttons like in the joystick, you had them kind of like angled up,
because your elbows are hitting each other as you're trying to play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that game, awesome. I want to say it took like an hour or something for us to beat, and yeah, man, my wrist was hurting so bad after that. But that's so cool though when you can you just spam lives. Like we had like 999 lives or whatever. It was ridiculous.
That's so cool.
So you just keep going, and it's the same thing with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones. It's it's such a treat to be able to go to a place like that and be like, oh, now I don't have to surrender my machine after I die. This is so great.
I like that. Yeah, what a cool game. I'm so glad that this not only is on Game Pass, got to play it for free. This is one I wouldn't hesitate to buy again at some point, like on the Switch or something, or maybe on Steam. If I, when the Steam Deck arrives, I could see myself playing it there. But having on Game Pass is fantastic.
Love it. It is crossplay. You do have to enable it, obviously, for matchmaking purposes. But
do you have to create an account to do that?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Random matches crossplay.
It's at the character. Is it the character select screen? Yeah, it's the character select screen. If you go to party up, it'll have like a crossplay down. You just arrow down to the bottom, and it by default it's disabled, so you just enable it.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know how you.
I wonder if that's
random.
If that
means publicly people on different platforms can join you, because I didn't see a way to invite people on different platforms.
So think back to Rocket League. They added crossplay before you had the Epic Games connection where you could have Epic Games friends. So before that, you could do some crossplay, but it was only in the random matchups. Like you couldn't be in a party with someone.
Right.
And so I wonder if that's what it is, where you can party up with randoms for now, Unless they have an account creation of some kind where you have to have a friends.
Yeah, I didn't get prompted for anything like that when I did just decide to on a whim.
I like it. Just kind of opens up the pool of players to play with when you hit join. That's cool. That's cool. Well, I saw that at least one of you, if not multiple, finished the Quarry, right?
The Quarry.
I have
the
not
Quarry. Yet. Yeah, I finished the Quarry.
I have not finished.
I am in chapter.
You packed the car?
I just finished chapter 5.
So
cool.
You are more than halfway through it.
Stuff has been happening.
Stuff is happening after
stuff
chapter
and things.
2. Was I wrong? After chapter 2, things definitely pick up. I mean, you're kind of forced to do more stuff.
I don't think most people who play this game by finishing chapter 5, they haven't killed off too many people yet, if anybody. So I'm in that boat. I haven't killed off anyone yet. I think there's been some moments where if I had made a dumb mistake or just wanted to, I probably could have let someone die.
Right.
But so far, I have a feeling that's about to change over the next few chapters. I
think I looked up how to kill everybody just after I finished the game. Yeah. Everybody lived in mine, by the way. So I had to. I looked it up. I was like, how do you do that? I just out of curiosity. And apparently the last character that can die is in chapter 9. So you do still get pretty far, even if you're killing everybody off.
Gotcha.
Which I found interesting. I was like, oh. And I think the soonest you can kill somebody is like chapter 4.
I will say that for a slasher game, they do a pretty good job of making you care about these characters. Like, they're interesting. They're well acted.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they're... Like, again, I know it's campy. It's very B movie if it's a movie. I get it, but that's what I meant. That's totally what I meant.
It's literally campy.
It's literally at a camp. But yeah, I feel like I'm actually finding a lot of these characters at least somewhat kind of endearing or likable, and I'm rooting for pretty much all of them, to be honest with you. So
I agree.
I kind of don't really care about the horror. I don't care about the horror.
Yeah, what chapter are you in?
I think I finished chapter 4. So there was that whole whole section.
Moment.
Yeah, well, there's the bonfire, and then she's running. She's up on that island, and she's running and doing some.
Oh yeah.
So I just finished that section.
Because of course she had to walk around that island in her underwear doing selfies the whole time.
Right. All glistening in the moonlight.
See, these kids are just asking to get killed. Like,
right.
If they do die,
she was asking
thank
for
God.
Oh my gosh. Well, not just her. To be fair, the guy was also running around like an idiot. Didn't even throw pants on before running off.
Right, I know.
No. And it's actually different. That plays out differently depending on if you how you messed up the car.
Got it.
Sure.
How did you guys mess up the car?
The smaller the piece. I didn't break anything. I did the piece.
So you took something out?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
I totally broke the car.
Yeah,
I broke it completely.
So I took something out but now it's in the lake. So
exactly.
See, I was able to catch it. I swam down and grabbed it, but then
I didn't get any of the swimming down, whatever. So like,
how did you swim down?
Because I'm awesome. I'm a pro gamer, Tim. Pro gamer.
There was no option to swim down.
There was, or at least there was for me. I mean, I don't know.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm dead
because you're
serious.
on PlayStation and I'm on Steam. All this Sony bias out here.
And
chances are really good that when it goes to a cutscene, I try to pay attention in games like this because I know at any moment you could have a QTE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But sometimes I glance down at my phone or whatever, look away. So I probably just missed a prompt.
So I think it was. I'm thinking there's a moment where they. So here's the scream. There's a scream, and I think it asks you if you want to go help that person or dive into the water. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I assumed those choices were go help someone or go over with Underwear Girl to the
By the way, going to help that person is even though I had a different path because I messed up the car differently.
Sure.
It ends up being pointless.
Yeah. Because by the time they cut back to him, those things have been resolved. Yeah. So
I don't mean to be like spoilery or whatever, but
yeah.
No, I think we're staying very vague. We're doing a good job of staying vague.
Yeah.
But like by the time if you choose to go help the scream, I actually said this out loud. I was like, well, that was useless because like they wrap up the source of the scream before Captain Undies even arrives.
Because obviously people are much closer to that scream than he is that are able to get to it.
I guess he doesn't know that though.
He doesn't know that, right?
So funny.
But it does add to the tension. I will say this too, the big overalls dude who's actually you kind of see like his arms on the cover.
Suplee, he's from My Name is Earl or whatever.
Ethan Suplee was a super overweight actor back in Remember the Titans, My Name is Earl. Like you'd recognize him. Big fella, very That's good comedic timing. Was pretty good actor, but then went through this body transformation, and he's been on podcasts.
Boy Meets World, right? Wasn't he on Boy Meets World also?
He was.
Is that the actor?
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen him. Yeah, he's all jacked.
Vader
now, right?
was his dad.
Yeah.
Isn't that who that was?
But now he's just. I mean, he looks like a big lumberjack. He's just super jacked and.
Okay.
But anyway, it's one of those things where
I almost didn't recognize him until like he's in the story a lot more, obviously. Like they started doing more close-ups of him.
They zoom in on his face, and I was like,
look at that.
I didn't even know that was him. And okay, cool.
Like Lance Henriksen, who plays is
right.
Somebody that's with
recognize
him
that guy.
Yeah. You immediately recognize him.
Well, yeah, I remember I watched because I was back in the day on a big X-Files kick. So I watched Millennium with Lance Henriksen, which was a super cheesy '90s like sci-fi horror show. I don't know if you guys ever watched it, but it was connected to the X-Files universe because they actually had an episode called Millennium. But it wasn't. They didn't have a ton of crossover. I remember my brother and I used to watch X-Files all the time, and when Millennium came out, we thought it was a huge spinoff. It's pretty separate, but there is just a couple moments where they cross over.
Is it like in the way that Angel was a crossover, not a crossover, a spinoff of Buffy,
where
it's its own thing, but
it's comparative? Yeah, because it's they. I don't remember if in Millennium Mulder or Scully ever come over to his show, but he definitely had an episode where he's in the X-Files. So anyway, I think the Quarry is super fun. It's for being a game that's all about just walking around talking and then hitting a direction or tapping a button.
And I'll be honest, Tim, and
it's very stressful
since you don't, it's true. There's a lot of stress. It's very tense. Tense, good word to describe that.
Listen,
I just watched the.
In a game when I hit a button like once every 10 minutes, my hands are sweating. That's what's crazy to me. Like they're building good tension.
They are, and what's funny is like you knees weak, palms are sweaty, nom spaghetti. Happens during like the easiest QTEs like in the history of games because some of those are just laughable. But I just finished the Always Sunny episode where they get and they find drugs. They
yes.
Yeah. And then the mob comes after them, and then like when they all like at the ending of it is them having their guns out to the mob, and like and then like after they settle, the dust settles, and the mob is like all of them collectively are like, oh, that was close, man. That was really tense. That was really tense, man. And then Matt goes tense. Great word for it. They're like recapping what just happened. It's so dumb.
It's fantastic.
So Tim, you don't know this, and Dan, I don't think you played any of the Dark Pictures games, right? The Man of Medan and stuff like that. So this one's QTEs are like far freaking easier than that, but you can actually adjust the difficulty and make it more convoluted if you wanted to. Okay. There's like an accessibility menu.
You know, I love that they would
passive, or you can make it like super stupid.
Yeah. They just know this is an interactive movie. You want to enjoy this. We want you to see this play out. We want you to make some decisions along the way. But like we want you to enjoy the scariness of this. We don't want you to feel frustrated at the gameplay we're trying to force you to really engage with. So it's almost like I'm watching through a mini series or something. And I
still think the movement overall is a little annoying, but it is what it is.
Oh, just when you're walking around.
It's still got that Until Dawn.
By the way, if you hold the left bumper, you walk a lot faster.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
I learned that by accident. I was like, "This is the run button. This is so annoying," and so I held.
Chapter 9 has this junkyard spot. Well, I guess it depends on how you mess up the car.
Sure.
But you so a couple characters go to the junkyard in my chapter 9, and I don't know. That could be all the games. Who knows? And it's just so funny to like be controlling one character and walk really fast, and the character that you're with is like trying to walk as fast as you, and they're just the way that you realize how ridiculous they look when they walk fast.
Yeah. I still have issues with the way the faces are animated. Like, and it's not because it's mainly just because I'm spoiled with the games that do it so well. I'm looking at Naughty Dog, even with last gen, but think about what they've done more recently with The Last of Us Part 2, or Ghost of Tsushima did this, or some of these newer games that the facial animations are so good. It does make these stand out a little bit, like especially with the lips when they smile, like something doesn't look quite right. But that's fine. It's totally fine. It doesn't ruin the experience whatsoever. I still think overall the game looks pretty good and it's fun to play, to watch.
The older woman character between chapters, I think she especially looks really like detailed and like like just the like the details of her face and that character, like
she's a good actress,
really
too,
legit. Like really.
Sometimes I don't know what it is with the actress that plays Emma, but something about the way they animated her face,
dude,
really weird. She's the only one that I noticed the weirdness with. Now.
Yeah, I noticed what Tim mentioned about something about the cheeks like being like almost.
Yeah. Like, did you just get your wisdom teeth out at camp?
Yeah.
What is this?
What's going on with her?
Yeah.
I find it, man. So like Until Dawn had a pretty recognizable actor play the guy who's kind of guiding you between scenes, between chapters. I can't remember the actor's name though. He's very recognizable, but he had nothing to do with the story. Same thing with Dark Pictures. They actually have the same person guiding you through all the Dark Pictures games. But he has nothing to do with the story.
Like as a narrator who's breaking the fourth wall with you.
The Quarry is very different in that regard.
Oh, I got a feeling that it's going to be connected. That's cool.
Yep. And they've never done that before, and I thought that was really freaking cool and smart.
Nice.
She has her own motives, and it's not clear to you at the beginning of the game. Nice. So it's very, man. And okay, so I did have everybody live in mine, and I wanted a trophy really bad, so
What'd you do?
I made a choice at the very last second before the game ended, and because of that choice, yes, all of the counselors are alive, but they're not in a good spot. So
jeez,
I have to kind of elaborate on that in a few months when everybody's had a chance to get through it.
There you go. This could be good content for a spoiler cast if we can all wrap it up in the next week or two.
Yeah,
talk about the different paths and everything.
I'm curious to try it again with different choices and stuff, and I want to kill some people because
I honestly could see myself putting this on the movie mode and just let me see everyone die.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I think the only thing you end up choosing, you choose personality traits before movie mode, and then it just plays out however you define their personalities.
Yeah, I might do that if I don't know that I want to but maybe I will. Who knows? I don't like these kind of games. I don't love to replay, like walking and talking again, and like all that, like doing all the QTE, like I hit up to jump over the route. Like I don't know if I need to do all that again. I will say that when the character Ryan is running through the woods at one point, I didn't duck. Actually, you know how I don't know if you guys ever do this with a controller with the analog stick. Sometimes I think I'm hitting down, but the way I've adjusted or I'm sitting, I kind of go, I guess, down to the right, and it registered as to the right.
You're probably hitting down, and it's being dumb. I'll give you because that happened to me once when I was playing. But
I thought I hit down, but it told me that I hit right, and it gave me a big red.
It's wrong, Tim.
And then he just gets clotheslined by this tree branch, and I just started laughing. I was like, "All right, that was cool. I like that."
Oh shit! Now he's dead.
Thankfully, it was early enough in the game where there wasn't.
There was a really dumb part in Chapter 9. Chapter 9 I played through twice, making the same choices because my first save, I accidentally angled the gun a little too far to the right and missed who I was supposed to shoot. So I died immediately. And I was like, that's bull crap. That's not how I want this to go. So I just started it over. If it were something like I made the wrong choice in a decision tree and then my character died, that I can live with. But just something as simple as I missed him when I shot, no, I'm playing that again.
I can see. So I did try to reset a save once because I was like, I wanted to see what happened if I actually spoke up. I let a meter run out, and then the way they reacted, I was like, that's not what I thought that was. It's hard to explain without spoiling it, but it was just a conversation, and I was like, let me just reload it and do that again. I want to see because now I do want to prompt that person or whatever, and I reloaded it and it had auto saved immediately, and I don't know how to go back to.
That's why I had to play Chapter 9 all over again to get to that part with the gun and stuff because
you just actually
the only save I had I went to my cloud save from the night before and I just reloaded that and that's it.
Clever
girl.
All right, another game. I know we got to move on here because a lot of stuff to talk about. Quarry is great. TMNT is great. It's a really fun time for some of these games that aren't on the big AAA docket, but they're super fun. And not that Quarry doesn't look AAA. Don't get me wrong. It's just not. I don't think it's a AAA game. Sorry am I hurting any feelings by saying that?
So many feelings.
I don't think it's a AAA team in general.
Yeah.
Like that developer. I don't
think of games like this as AAA, and that's okay.
Right.
I don't. Anyway, like if we're not like upgrading skills and having an open world camp here. Although I'd play that game too.
Yeah.
All right. I am playing some of this new kind of RTS strategy game. I won't talk a lot about it, just to give you some highlights on Frozenheim.
Tell me, Tim. Tell me.
As just Jeff responded when I told him the name of this, that is about as Viking of a title as you can get. Frozenheim.
Besides Valheim.
So it's exactly what you would expect. It is a very Viking-focused game. It is if you like Age of Empires, if you like those types of RTS city builders, this game is in that same vein. I mean, there's going to be elements of it that are different, of course. I just played Age of Empires 4. That's probably top tier in terms of overall quality, and all the options and all the units.
It's a slick game.
That's probably the top tier of these types of games. So I'm not saying it's as good as that or anything. It's just that style of game. I think it's probably much simpler. There are a couple elements that are a little annoying, like you run out of the forest that you chop down to get your wood resources. You run out pretty quick, and you're kind of clearing the land. Like, I have to expand really quickly in order to keep my wood supply up. It's things like that seem like I know it's out in 1.0 now. It's not in early access, but hopefully they balance that a bit, because I do feel like the resources are a little unbalanced. But that's my only gripe. Otherwise, I think it's great. I think it looks great. The idea is it's got a little storyline in the campaign where you're going to meet up with who you think is an ally, and then things go wrong, and now you have to sail to a totally new land to kind of start your civilization or whatever, your clan over again. You've got some cool skill trees too. You pick what kind of clan you want to be: wolf, raven, bear, stag, I think, is the other one. And the idea is they each have different focuses on defense or offense or resources or mystical arts, stuff like that. So they do have some cool Viking-centric elements. Building one of those big Viking longboats and loading up your soldiers to go fight enemies across the way is pretty satisfying. Combat's very simple. Select your units, right click where you want them to attack. Hiding in the forest and then jumping out as the enemies get close. All that stuff's there. It's pretty fun. I do recommend it if you like these RTS/city building style of games. I think there's sandbox modes too. I'm just doing the campaign, but I assume there's modes. I imagine there's modes where if you want just a relaxing, let me build a huge settlement and don't really do much combat, I think you could probably do that with some settings.
I was going to ask you, how are the menus as far are they slick? Are they cumbersome?
The tutorial is actually pretty good. I forget what I played another game like this recently, but the tutorial was not helpful at all, and I found myself lost really quickly, really early, and overwhelmed. This game does a good job. The tutorial is pretty short, but it does a great job of walking you through each step. So to me,
maybe it was Dune Spice Wars.
Dune, yes, that one was actually kind of hard to play, and I know it's an early access, so we'll see what they do.
But yeah, you mentioned something I think during that podcast of they didn't really hold your hand at all, so you were just kind of.
And I was sitting here like a little kid, my hand up, like, is someone gonna help me? I don't know where I'm going.
Well, that's why I really appreciate Age of Empires, because it's there is complexity as far as how much you can do and how much you can sort of build up and add to your army as far as extra stats and what you can build and so on and so forth. But it's very straightforward. It's just oh, you build a new building and then here's some extra options. It's just very simple, but it's very addictive in my opinion. So I didn't know if it was kind of that straightforwardness, but there's a lot of layers. Or
I think it's pretty straightforward. Pretty early on, you build your main buildings you need. You add houses to add villagers. That way you can do more things and get more resources. Then you start training up your soldiers and getting upgrades. You can meet, NPCs that will train your soldiers to hit harder or whatever. If you happen to run across them, and but yeah, then you just drag and attack. You just drag and select the units that you want. And you go attack. So yeah, it's good fun. I do recommend it.
Well, it's on sale right now, $15.99. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty good price. It is early access. No, this is not early access. This is just released into 1.0. It was early access for a while there.
Okay.
But it is now out of early access, so it is the completed game, and it's good. I like it. Another one that I'm playing a little bit. I don't know if I'll replay this entire game. I don't know. I might. I had I played it for an hour, and I had so much fun.
Tim, it is so long.
Going back into Assassin's Creed Origins. And I forgot how much I like this game. Even right from the jump, it's a very compelling story. The characters are interesting. And the setting, that Egyptian setting, is just so cool. And I just think your characters, Bayek and what's his wife's name? Aya?
I don't even remember.
It's a short name like that, something like that.
Yeah.
I think his name is Bayek, right? Anyway.
Bayek, yeah.
all that to say, because he's the main character you control, but she is an incredibly important character throughout the game. I think their relationship is actually surprisingly charming and likable. A lot of times in video games, they can't quite, especially that era of video games from 5, 6, 10 years ago, they can't quite get the relationship right. It feels really forced. And Naughty Dog gets it right, but not every developer gets it right. This one felt like a real husband and wife, and I thought it was really cool. So anyway, it looks great. It runs great. Looks super pretty.
Sweet.
And I'm actually reminded how much I like this game more than Valhalla. Valhalla looks better. It's a newer game, obviously, more detailed. The characters look a lot better.
Yeah.
But I think just the controls of this and the way they set up the story, I was like, oh, I forgot how much more meaningful this entire experience was.
Yeah.
Compared to Valhalla, which has meaningful moments, but it is not overall nearly as impactful of a game. It's just not, even though the setting is cool there too.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's, again, like I told you, it's my favorite one. It's just the most unique setting wise. I mean, Egypt, how many games are in Egypt?
Right.
It's just really cool. And
I would say the Viking thing was, at least to me, the most compelling, because that era is so interesting to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
But with how freaking long that game is, I'm more intrigued at playing Origins finally, or going through more of Odyssey, because I only played like an hour of that, which is nothing.
That one's very long too.
Yeah, I've heard. It is called Odyssey, so that's fair.
Sure. Yeah.
So Assassin's Creed Origins looks like, according to How Long to Beat, you could get through the main story in about 30 hours. That's still a beefy game.
Yeah, I expect it to be. I did actually download this one because of the fact that the news came out about visual upgrades or whatever, and it's like slight visual updates, right? It's like 60 frames per second finally, or whatever. I think that's the main thing.
Well, each game's main story has gotten progressively longer, so that was about 30-ish for just the main story. So
well, I was going to say, I think it would be more like a Horizon playthrough for someone like me, where it's like 40, 50.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And then Odyssey jumped up to about 45 hours just for the main base game story.
Good Lord.
Valhalla, just for the main story, is 60.
Oh my God, dude.
So
that's like JRPG length. That's like default JRPG.
It is. You're right.
I liked Valhalla a lot, but the more I've reflected on it and kind of thought about which game would I want to go back and play, Odyssey was at the top of my list, and I probably still would go back and play that one. But right now, with the upgrades to Origins, I'm like, ooh, I think Odyssey and Origins are fighting for that top spot for me. I love them both so much.
Yeah.
And Valhalla, I think, has settled into that third place of these three. At first,
it's interesting. I remember being most grabbed by Valhalla when I played it, even though, again, I didn't get very far in it. That one I felt most grabbed by the environments, the gameplay stuff, mechanics.
The river raids are really fun.
Yeah, all that stuff. I was like, whoa, this is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Just hearing how long it is. It just kept me away. It honestly did. Like, the longer I hear the game is, I'm not as compelled to be unless it's Red Dead 2. It's not fair, though.
I think anyone who typically likes action adventure open world RPGs, if they want to pretend these games are bad, even Valhalla, they're lying to you. They're not bad games. It's just I think Valhalla is a lot less focused, and even Origins, the story has a great finale as it comes to its conclusion. It's just got a great it feels like it fits in the Assassin's Creed universe, and it's its own story. It feels like the beginning of something really cool.
It still felt like an Assassin. It had still the vibes of an Assassin's game.
It did.
As far as this trilogy goes, like Odyssey just feels
Odyssey lost some of that.
I'm just like,
and Valhalla lost almost all of that.
Right.
Yeah. So. Anyway, I do recommend giving this a shot. It's on Game Pass now, of course. I believe you can play it elsewhere as well. You could also just buy it on the new consoles or on PC and get these upgrades. But I downloaded it on the Game Pass app on my PC, and it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Sweet. That's where I got it downloaded.
I'll mention real quick, Othercide, to give Derek some credit. He recommended this game to me a long time ago. I don't know if he played a demo or if he bought it.
Don't give him credit.
You know what? I strike that from the record.
I take
that. Objection, hearsay. Derek,
that's true. That is actually hearsay. That was someone.
That is actually an accurate objection.
God damn it.
Othercide. So it's spelled as if it were going to be like patricide or genocide or something like that, but it's Othercide. And the concept of this is, and I don't know, it kind of looks vampire-y, although I haven't seen anything about actual vampires in this game. It just kind of has that aesthetic, lots of black and white with bright splashes of red blood and so it's just got that vibe to it. But the idea is that you are this character. You're kind of carrying on the spirit of this character named Mother. At the very beginning of the tutorial, you're controlling this character Mother, who's super strong, and she's on her last legs. Like she's getting trounced by these enemies. But it kind of teaches you the basics of how to play the game, and then she's kind of reborn or rebirthed or something. Her spirit now, who's like this red glowing naked version of her. And by the way, you see a lot of naked butt in this game.
You're talking about Mother, and then you're bringing up Rebirth. You don't
need to say anything else. Naked.
This is Final Fantasy, right?
I mean, like the menu system is really her red spirit facing away from you with her butt just right there on the screen the whole time. So if that's your thing, if that's your thing, then give it a whirl.
So that's why Derek likes this game. Okay.
He was like, dude, you gotta play this game. No, but
you gotta play other ass side.
Other side of her ass. I mean,
that's why it's called Othercide. No, but the concept of the game is that because there's runs in this game, so that it's a little bit of the rogue-like type approach, which scares people away. But go with me. Because I forget what the word is. I think they used reanimated as the word, but the idea is you bring back her daughters, and you decide which daughter to bring back. And she's gonna have certain skill sets. You pick what class. She could be a shield bearer, or she could have like dual wield guns and be ranged. She could have this giant sword and attack up close. You essentially pick the class, the specialty for each daughter that you bring back. You level them up, and then over the course of time, as you go through these battles, they might die, whatever. You might even sacrifice one of them to help heal or keep another one alive. You can resurrect them on your next attempt through, because she'll resurrect again, and you can bring daughters back. If you really liked one that you leveled up, and that you can name them, and you can level them up, and you can resurrect them for a cost of a certain resource. So, but anyway, it's really, they all have a very unique look while looking like sisters. It's just a really cool system that they set up there, where they feel very different from each other. And I just thought it was a really cool approach. By the way, the gameplay is like XCOM, Mario plus Rabbids, kind of that turn-based, grid-based approach where you can see where enemies are going. They might kind of have a move charging, or they might have an Overwatch type move where if you move within their range, they're going to shoot you. Like, it's a little XCOM-ish in that way. So, but it's cool.
That's the only thing that kept me from it, because I remember really loving the art style. Like art style is just so freaking gorgeous, and unique.
And the animation.
Then I hear the gameplay, and that, me, I don't do well with games where your character has to sit there for a second.
I wish there was a demo so you could try it, because it's one of those ones that it could win some people over who haven't tried these games before. But there's no demo. It is down to $12 though on sale on Steam. At least it was. At least it was recently. I don't know if it still is. But I do recommend that. Speaking of demos, so many demos. This has been Steam Next Fest.
So many.
And there's been a lot of stuff to play. Jeff, what have you tried out this week? Some of the highlights.
This one, I don't know if it's related to Next Fest or not, because it did come out this year. But I know Dan's already played the full game. Not all of it, but like some of it. ANNO Mutationem had a full demo on Steam. Yep. And by full, I mean it's like prologue, and like it's mainly the training stuff you start out with in that world, and then they tell you to go somewhere, and right when a guy steals like a piece of evidence from you, and you go chase him, and right before you're about to fight him, she collapses, and that's when the demo ends.
Okay.
So I'm like, God, man, that was such a great hook, and I was so sold immediately on the world, because it's got that cyberpunk art style, but it's like
pixelated.
Yeah, it's pixelated, slightly pixelated, but the colors are very bright.
Yeah, and the art style looks so good on this.
It's the art style so cool, and like the fact that it's like that pixelated like 2.5D ish thing, but it's like open world to some extent, where you can like roam hallways and stuff. It's not just, unless I think you're doing combat, it's not just to the side. A side view,
the sort of like field adaptive field where like you're kind of going back and forth like this way. That's usually like so. I did this really long like underground section, and when I was going back and forth this way, there was no fighting. So fighting is just left to right. It's just
and the fighting feels pretty good. I was just kind of getting the hang of it, obviously, and it's very very early because it's a demo. So I obviously didn't get very far, and it seemed like though that you could either pick up different weapons or something. I might be confusing.
Well, you have demo. So when you do the training, it's just kind of almost like a just a regular one-handed sword.
Yeah.
And the pistol. And then a little further, like an hour or two in, you get
you can
like
get better guns and stuff, right? Like in better melee weapons. Yeah. That's
well,
what I thought.
There's a shop that you can
there's like
to.
a shop. Yeah, that's right.
But you do get
too many demos, Jeff. Too many
demos. I have demo-itis right now where like if it doesn't impress me in like 2 minutes, I'm like, I'm done. Uninstall.
I mean, I put a let's play, which would like the way that I like doing those is just kind of like here's different sections of the game, which is just basically like watching a demo instead of playing it, and then you just get the feel and the vibes of it. So that's why I like putting those there, because again, I felt like especially in our group, no one was talking about this game, and I remember seeing.
You're not wrong. I honestly, this one of all the demos that I played, and obviously the other ones are games that haven't come out yet.
Yeah,
like because it's part of the festivals or what conferences, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But this one was the most like impressive demo to me. Like this one sold me on the game the most out of everything we played. Okay, I shouldn't say everything. Agent 64 exists, but
yeah, we'll talk about that too. By the way, if you're listening to this or watching on YouTube, make sure you check out some of the Let's Play videos that Dan's been putting up. It's really cool to watch some of those. One of those that you played, Dan, was Metal Hellsinger. Tell me about this.
Oh my god, dude! I've never been more obsessed with a game like immediately in my in so long. I've played this demo like 5 times.
So I watched your Let's Play, but I had to turn the music down because
Okay, all right. You know what?
I'm kidding.
I thought the music, team.
The music fit, but it really was like I was like, this is too. I couldn't play a whole game with this. It's too obnoxious for me.
To me, it's fantastic, dude.
That's fine.
It's
fine.
And like
it's terrible taste.
I don't know if you. So when you're watching, quiet down. When you're watching the demo, I don't know if you notice. I basically once I get the shotgun, I'm pretty much just using the shotgun because the shotgun just has such like a good like bombastic kind of sound and feel to it that when I was actually getting the good rhythm going, like it just fit really well. Now, what I recorded was my very first playthrough of it, so I definitely wasn't playing like a pro game. When you notice there's some parts where I'm like, how did I miss that shot? Like, how did I miss that? But I'm also like, I was like focusing on getting it to the rhythm as opposed to actually like being accurate. Like I was more just having fun, like trying to time it to the rhythm of it, and that's what I was having fun with the game. But yeah, it's just super fun if you're into metal, and then if you like sort of the Doom aesthetic of the game Doom, but this is more like you're an actual demon with like wings, and you're going through and you're fighting these other demons. It's fun. It's really fun. I watched the video
of crazy.
What was that? Was it ATB or I forget what the one that you mentioned, Jeff.
BPM, that one's more like electronic type music.
Yeah,
like what you hear in Cyberpunk radio.
Yeah. So that kind of just felt like something that wasn't as honed in. Like
the art, it's much more crude type of art style.
Yeah,
and I definitely got the sense that Hellsinger felt further along.
Yeah, it definitely feels like,
technologically speaking,
right?
Yeah.
And they have like legit actual lead singers from like metal bands. Serge Tankian from System of a Down is contributing. Like
that's so good.
So they definitely have talent as far as like who they're using to sing, like do the singing portions of the game.
Yeah, which Serge was like one of the main names they were highlighting.
Right. And that's part of the fun of the as far as the rhythm and the shooting, it is like it's not just happening immediately, the singing and all that. You have to build up to that. So like there's actually like a combo meter at the top. You'll see like it's ×4, ×8, 16.
Oh man!
When you hit 16,
you have to earn all that sweet music.
So when you get to 16, that's when the vocals kick in. But then if it drops back down to 8, then it's just like then it's just instrumental, and then it kind of so it goes further.
I would love to if it functioned like your combo breaks and the singer's like up, like immediately cuts off like right in the middle of what they're singing.
There were a couple of like awkward cut. Like it must be really hard to like make this game to time it. Sounds like a natural.
It's either
song.
A fade out or it cuts abruptly. I imagine is how it works, right?
Yeah,
or they're gonna have to put in a whole bunch of markers throughout the audio to say stop after this. If like all these rules like that,
or if the singer, it would have been more hilarious if they were able to get the singer to go, "Oh no, we got shot," and like he drops out.
You're doing really bad.
Ow!
Ow! He's like, ow! Ooh.
It's really fun, and there's a demo on Steam, so give it.
Those are 2 positive ones so far. We'll just kind of keep going around with other ones we're playing. I've tried out one called There Is No Light. I thought the style looked really cool. I was like, I gotta try this one out. Didn't really do it for me gameplay wise. Some of these games, especially if they're kind of the top-down pixel art style, action RPG. There's so many of those out there right now. You have to do something special. And this one's special thing was so much talking, so much dialogue. Like it took me forever to get to like the first enemy I could fight. And then you start fighting, you just punching. I was like, okay. So, and then you got a pipe. Okay, I got a pipe now.
Like Derek right now.
I'm telling you, like it was not well paced, and like the demo did not pull me in. I think the demo should have been a different slice of the game where you've got some abilities, you've got some weapons, and they really want to show you the game. But this just wasn't doing it for me. And so I think this art style's cool. It's going to work for some people.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's just too many games like this out there. And even though the art style was cool, it wasn't it wasn't unique. It wasn't over the top.
Like, I'm looking at it now. It's not
very orange.
It wasn't gorgeous.
You know,
some of these pixel art games are like just stunning. It's like, dude, this looks so amazing. This was not that. So I don't necessarily recommend it. It's got a demo though. So if you're interested in these games, give that one a shot. Another one that didn't quite hit all the right points for me was Zell. Another one that looked kind of cool, but then when I started playing it, I was like, yeah, this is pretty bland. And then I finally got a sword and started fighting enemies, and I was like, all right, I see what they're doing here, but it's Zell, Xel.
When she was, the voice actor was saying Excel, and I'm like, stop saying it like an X.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that when I talk about this game.
Like an Excel spreadsheet.
Excel. Yeah. She's saying it like it's without, Excel without the E, basically. Like, and I'm like, you don't. When X starts the word, you don't always, unless it's X-ray, you don't.
I don't think I noticed that.
You don't start it that way to me. It just hits the ear wrong. I don't know.
But even
that sounds odd.
Like even a game like this that wants to have a bit of a Metroidvania vibe, like you'll see areas you can't get to yet because you don't have the right item or key card or whatever to get through this door. But it's still very simplistic, and now it's just making me do these weird loops above bridges that are now over a path I just went on. And so like I was like, this is not the best level design. And so I was spending a lot of time just kind of walking, and I don't know.
Man, you got really close to the end of that demo.
Yeah,
you got really close to, because it's not that long. So like right after there's like a boss. It's like a mini boss kind of that you encounter. It's like a cannon basically. And after you beat that, the game ends right there. And that's like once you break through the wall that you couldn't get through before because you didn't have a melee weapon.
Yeah, I got the sword. I killed probably like 5 or 6 enemies, and I was like, nah, this isn't doing it for me. So I turned it off.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I thought it was fine.
I was actually into the gameplay side of things on that one.
That's
like it had that loop that kind of made me go, I could get addicted to this. But I mean, like you mentioned it being kind of bland, and the art style certainly is for me. God, I swear if we put this in like SEO or something, and like and the developer's gonna hear this and go, they think our art style's so bland.
We gotta delay.
We're never gonna make a game again.
We gotta delay it.
Yeah, we gotta delay it forever. So I feel bad about.
So I think of games that are in this vein that I've played recently that the art was just unbelievable. Like Death's Door just had striking art style, and it just flew off the screen at you as you're playing. And
even like lesser,
Tunic.
Yeah, I was gonna say even lesser Death's Door, Tunic.
Yeah.
It's not even like the most realistic art. It's like, well, obviously it's a more like a cartoon animated style.
But it catches your attention. It's
exactly. And this one's just full of like the ugly types of greens and blues, like the light.
I mean, it clearly just doesn't have as big of a budget. It just doesn't have.
Also, it's teetering PG-13, and I'm very confused because it's clear that the animation, the cinematics in the game, the cinematic scenes and stuff, the animation is very much like trying to be Ratchet and Clank, but she's saying like hell and ass, and I'm like, who's this for?
Dude, that's a good point. I actually thought that too, because I was like, oh, this might be a good kids game, and then she started swearing pretty liberally. I was like, oh, all right.
Like, sweet, I got to start and kick some ass.
It's like, Tim was like, it's a game for Dan. All right.
I mean, it'd be like at the end of Lightyear when he goes like, F this, and you remember that part? Yeah.
To infinity in your mom's hole or whatever.
Nice.
That was
so those were two that didn't do it for me. The rest that I'll talk about did. Jeff, any other ones that you played?
You mentioned There's No Light. I did play There Is No Light 2, but it did not differentiate itself fast enough for other games that do the same thing, so that's why I stopped. I was fine with the melee, by the way. It was fine. I could get along, but yeah, just be unique, be more unique, I should say. They probably think they're the most unique people in the world,
a lot,
but whatever. CyberCorp is one I played. I know Kyle played this too. Actually, the next two that I'm going to mention, Kyle played them and dropped them in chat. I don't think he said great things about CyberCorp, but I just saw the art style and I was like, maybe it'll appeal to me because it's another cyberpunk game. Even to the point where the text on the menus is like, this is literally from the game Cyberpunk 2077. They're like ripping this off so bad. Nah, it didn't do it for me. It's like that. It's that I want to say Helldivers or something of gameplay where
Alien Nation and
where like you or the Ascent, I guess, where like you aim your gun is like kind of moving around the right joystick a little bit and it moves your crosshair. So it's that type of combat, which can be fun. I mean, I just listed 2 examples where it's actually good and it's fun part of the gameplay. This one is just too stilted. Like I think I had that problem that Dan had with Andromeda, where like you move your character and like, or even with the attack button and they're just not responding. The time that you think they're going to. So it felt a little sluggish in the combat area. So I mean, art style aside, which ended up just kind of being repeated areas to me, like they just look very similar. I don't know. Wasn't clicking for me. Didn't really stand out on that one.
What was the other one?
Moonscars. Kyle played this.
This looks like Castlevania.
Yes. Ooh. Yeah, the art style is very much like old Castlevania. Ooh, it's quite literally a Castlevania throwback game, and the combat feels really good. And it reminded me.
This feels unique.
It's got and it's like it's about like a clay. What do you call sculptist? I was like, what do you call the people that diddle with clay?
They diddle with clay.
Clay diddlers. Clay diddlers.
So this one has the kind of art style that I didn't even have to see much more of it. I was just like, I'm going to download this demo because this looks really cool. But how does it play?
Yeah, I think the combat feels really good, and it's got that Ori type of level design where you're kind of backtracking, going through different Metroid. I mean, it's quite literally, you mentioned Metroidvania. So I mean, it's
some of the environments look like that game from last year, that Ender Lilies, that I still want to get to that. Some of the environments look like Ender Lilies a little bit.
Is that one a Melee kind of focus game too? Or?
I think it is. That one looks cool. I still want to play Ender Lilies.
This one's published by Humble Games. Yeah, it's another Humble Games. I saw that and I was like, oh, look at that. So it'll be cheap soon. But this right after it comes out, it's gonna be in a bundle for like $2. This game is really cool. Really impressed me. I added it to the wish list like as soon as I didn't even finish the demo. I was just like, I'm already sold. I'm good.
Steam is telling me that I would like it because I played Death's Door. So now I'm really interested.
It reminded me more of like Blasphemous.
Okay, sure. Yeah, Blasphemous.
Yeah, the aesthetic.
And kind of like the level design and stuff.
I think it's recommending that because of probably the genres of those games.
There is the Melee is kind of I can't even remember the game that it's similar to now, but the combat itself is very basic. I think there is a parry, which that's nice, but it's pretty much just tap X, which I'm using the Xbox controller. So tap X or hold it for a stronger strike or whatever. And that's kind of it. I think there's a couple specials too, like you can change out, but you have to kind of build up special, kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You have this meter you have to build up, and you can use that meter to heal yourself, or you can use it to hit a special move.
Nice.
So there's some special moves too, but it's a little basic, and it's pretty crude art style, but for the better. I think it fits the aesthetic. I think you guys would like. I like this one.
I've got the demo downloaded among many others. I'm actually going to read through my list of demos I have downloaded and plan to play sometime this week. It's a big list. But
you mentioned last time, was it Midnight Fight Express? Yeah. So I did a Let's Play of that too. Yeah, that one's fun. Awesome. It's a little more
that game is so cool.
It wasn't like difficult, but there definitely wasn't like
more involved than you might think.
Yeah, so
especially
that
when there's like an icon on like everything in the room, you can throw it at somebody,
right?
You know.
And as far as like being able to counter and sort of like this, there's definitely a deep system there that as it goes on, there's more kind of that you're evolving and growing and with the character and all that. So
did one of you tell me that's a Game Pass game?
It will be day one on Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
When it comes out in August.
Sweet, that's great.
Yeah, I'm excited AF for that game, dude. Like the full version of that, because it looks like. Yeah. He left the menu open. You can see all the menu that you will have access to. He just grayed out because it's just one guy. That's what I'm saying. He just grayed out whatever you couldn't get to in the demo.
This is one of those demos that I played through. I did all the tutorial stuff. Finished that first level, saw the upgrade screens, and then I was done. I didn't want to, I don't know if you can keep going, but like I didn't even try to. I was like, I've played enough to know I like this game. As soon as it's available, I'm gonna download it and play it for real. Do you guys ever do that with demos where you're like, I don't need to play anymore. I know I'm gonna like
you don't
this.
want to be spoiled.
Yeah, that was literally an example of that, where it's like I beat the first level, which is as long as a TMNT level. It's like 5 minutes.
It's just a tutorial.
And then I was like, all right, I'm done. Like I'm done. I'm gonna buy this thing or whatever.
I don't even know if they allow. I thought there was a next level option, but I was like, no, I don't need to. I'm good. I'm gonna play it when it comes out.
I think they even said, is this the game where it tells you at launch like this is I'm confusing it with CyberCorp. See demo.
Too many demos.
Demoitis.
Too many demos, guys. We got to talk about.
I remember going to the map and it had like 4 chapters you could go through.
We got to talk about Agent 64. So this is one that, because of Jeff, I think it was last week, who told us about this one, who raised the flag.
I put that on there too.
And so I played this. It only lets you go through essentially one level.
Right. Basically. Yeah. It's very short.
And you can change it. You can do it 3 times on different difficulties. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you've played GoldenEye 64, if you've played Perfect Dark, because those games are essentially the same game, just with a different skin. If you ever played both of those, you realize they're pretty much the same game. But this carries vibes of either or both of those, the same thing. And it does it so well, and it controls like a modern game, sort of like you'd expect it to.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the weird like yellow buttons on the N64 controller you used to have to use to look around. So it actually feels a little more modern while looking like those old school games. Everything from how your gun kind of auto aims at enemies.
It looks like your wrist is just
like free. So you can be aiming like guys. You can aim like this, and then it just goes like just like
you just strafe by a bunch of dudes, and he just aims for you, and just...
which is pretty great. It's actually not helpful though when you want to shoot a barrel near them. You have to purposefully aim at that. But man, it's just really fun. It just feels right. It's just like, oh man, I will totally play this game.
Yes.
It reminds me of why I really want them to do some sort of a modern version of GoldenEye, which has been rumored for a long time, and there was
the Wii attempts, one, right?
There's been attempts at it, but I don't think they've ever quite gotten it the way, because didn't one of them have Daniel Craig as?
Yeah, I think that was the one that was made for like the Wii or Wii U or whatever.
Maybe that was beloved, but I thought it was well liked, but I could be wrong.
Now that you're mentioning this, I have a vague memory of it because it's like it's a Wii U game, obviously, and I didn't have that console, so it's like in my head it's a myth until you find evidence.
But I mean, this is obviously has no license attached to it. It's very just generic agent. You're an agent of some kind, and you're going to kill bad guys because that's what agents do. So I love it, and they're all wearing black suits. And they're doing like really dumb patrols outside by a giant vent. Like, why are you patrolling out there? But
they're like, they'll come out of a room and I'm like, what were you doing in there? And sometimes you'll walk into the room and their back is to you and they're just standing there. And you're like, oh, okay, they're those type of security guards.
Well,
you have to stand there.
You have to save the hostages, and every room you go in to save the hostages, there's a bad guy with this gun right at his head, but he's just frozen. So you have plenty of time to like look at him and like aim up at him and boom, get the bad guy, because no one reacts to you busting into the door. It's great, great, very N64.
It's so fun. God, yeah.
Another throwback demo that I tried out was Broken Pieces. Do you guys try Broken Pieces?
I have that downloaded.
Okay,
I did.
I think this game kind of reminds me of early Resident Evil, or a little bit of what I played of Silent Hills. I didn't play enough of those in Silent Hill. I didn't play enough of those to really get into them. Or maybe even, I keep comparing it to the Medium, and I know some people would hear that as an insult. I don't mean it, because I don't think the Medium was a poor game. It just wasn't all that fun of a game. But it's the same idea where you're exploring an environment. You have a set camera, and you can you have one option to change the camera angle. So they're trying to give you a little bit of a cinematic thing where like you enter from this side of the screen and then you're going to run over here and you maybe have one other angle to see what's around you. You have to explore, you have to investigate stuff. There's some pretty obvious elements that are missing, like, hey, 3 of these pipes have a bright red, whatever they're called, the wheels, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And one of them is missing. And so you're like, okay, I wonder if I have to go find a bright red one of those. Yep, sure do. And so like, it's very much that, or you have to find a combination to a lock. And so-and-so said it's on his birthday, because they happened to leave a note that's sitting on the desk. Like, I changed the combination to his birthday. So you have to go and figure out what his birthday is. So like, it very much reminds me of those kind of, spooky investigative, backtrack a ton.
Like the PS1 era of horror games.
But it just looks better than that. It's not. It doesn't look like a AAA top-notch. Wow, these are amazing visuals game, but it doesn't look like a PS1 game either. So, I think it's fine. Jeff, did you have the same thoughts, or do you think it's good?
It was, like you said, it was fine. I was not sold. Maybe a Game Pass game. Maybe it'd be good for that. I could see myself playing it there. I could say the same for the Medium. If it wasn't on Game Pass, I don't know that I would have played it.
I probably wouldn't have either. Yeah. Based on my interest in that genre and the reviews that weren't good, I probably wouldn't have bothered.
Even though I like the developer, I think
that's Bloober, right? That was Bloober.
Oh, I liked the developer, so I was like, oh yeah, I was kind of anticipating that, but I would not have paid for that game.
This does not strike me as anything this does not strike me as something that's going to be better than something like the Medium. So that's why my interest is.
Except there is actually genuine combat in this, but it's just very light. It's kind of the same aiming mechanic I described in the Ascent, where you use your joystick to move the cursor around or whatever. But sometimes
there's a lot of auto aim. You just hold it on the left trigger and it auto aims, and you can cycle through.
And there's a dodge, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. The enemies are just shadows.
She makes it it's just a sidestep to avoid
it's a dance move. It's a dance.
But when you're in melee or there's somebody really close to you, the dodge serves no purpose at all.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. She's doing this, and I'm like,
that's a little Resident Evil 3, because I think Jill in 3 could do a dodge. It was just very dramatic looking.
Yeah. It was.
Well, also it's the kind of aiming where you aim at them and you see who you're targeting, but you can't accurately hit them until you wait for the circle to get small enough, and then you can shoot, boom, and then you have to wait again. So so I guess it's a way of building tension, although it makes no sense because I'm aiming right at them, and if you shoot too soon, the bullet misses them. So whatever. And there's shadows anyway. I'm not sure how you're shooting.
Yeah, see, I don't like that. That sounds dumb.
It's fine.
And then fine. I did discover what the game was trying to get. But... I think it's in France, and you're exploring, at least in the beginning, exploring a lighthouse. And it felt the map actually kind of felt very open, more than I expected. But I did get that sense of backtracking when I was exiting the lighthouse and the billions of stairs. And I was like, oh no, it's going to be one of those types of games. Because there's still stuff at the bottom of the lighthouse that I need to, or I guess it's bottom?
Well, you go to one
spot.
Or
whichever direction the stairs go.
We started at the bottom.
There's a fuse box, but the fuse is missing.
Yeah. So now I have to go all the way up here. Oh, I remember what. So I actually quit this game on purpose because I didn't like where it was going. You get this fuse, you can plug it in. Now she's like, now I gotta figure out which cables where the wires go. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing that, and I uninstall
it. Nope.
You literally just have to look up and you see the order that they're coming into the top of the box, and you just match that.
I couldn't even figure that out. I was like, I don't even want to do this.
That's such a Huber move.
So, all right, that one is okay. To me, the highlight of most of these, I mean, I loved Agent 64 too, but I thought WrestleQuest was the best demo that I've played over the last couple of days. It's you are essentially a wrestling toy figure is what you are, and they even talk about your toys, and that's how you can see the joints, like the toy joints on the characters and stuff. So your toys, and they certainly have plenty of real life wrestlers, Macho Man, Randy Savage being at the center of most of the story and the motivation for the main character, and other very popular wrestlers, and then lots of completely fictional ones that they've made up and brought in, but some of them totally fit, and then some of them are completely fantasy land. Hey, he's a half deer or half moose or whatever he is.
Sure.
They certainly have wrestler characters like that. So it's definitely like a toy land with a wrestling theme to it, and some of it's gonna go oh, I recognize that wrestler, and some of it's I don't know who this is, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I found it to be very, very charming. It's a turn-based wrestling combat, which is something that no one has ever asked for. Ever.
Right.
But here it is, but I think it is pretty fun. There are some timing elements of hit a button at a certain time when you're prompted to do if they bounce off the ropes and you hit the button at the right time, you'll do extra damage. If you miss it, they'll do damage to you. The pinning is like a little meter that bounces back and forth, and you got to hit the button within the the right box. Otherwise, it'll they'll get up from the pin.
And they get some HP if they
get some health back. Yeah, and I mean the weaker they are, the easier that timing is to hit. The stronger they are.
The bigger the opportunity is on that meter. Yeah.
So that's, to me, it's a pretty creative, pretty fun little game from what I've played. You control at least 2 different characters, maybe more. from what I've played so far. There's 2 different wrestlers that are kind of either up and coming or something like that in the business, and they've got different motivations, and they kind of introduce you to some of their friends, and I think it's really good. My favorite thing is that your main character is still trying to figure out who he is as a wrestler.
Sure.
And he starts to kind of settle on this persona of Muchacho Man. So he's like the Hispanic version of Macho Man, and he keeps saying,
"Ooh, see,
oh, see," instead of "ooh, yeah." He says, "ooh, see." So it's very. I think the writing is pretty clever at times, pretty funny, and I like it. I think it's very charming. I love the style too. I think the style looks really good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm into what. Obviously, I'm into it. I pay attention to wrestling, but yeah, I'm into the different type of wrestling game that it is. A game that you, as you said, nobody asked for. But then when you play it up like that, and each move, you have to think out each move that you're doing, or else the crowd can get bored or start booing. So like that, I don't know. They put a lot of thought into it, even from a wrestling perspective. A lot of thought into the turn-based combat.
What do you think about the entrances? You have to pick your entrance elements in order to like pump up the crowd beforehand. You can get an advantage by getting a good entrance, and if you time those buttons, I don't know if you did this part yet. You time the button hits right. The button hits right as you're coming out. You can actually start the game with your hype meter, or whatever it's called, your audience energy meter higher.
Hype,
and it's part of that same meter that you use during the match.
So basically, it's a way to kind of get a head start on. Not every battle will have that. Some battles just throws you right in, and there's. I mean, it's a turn-based RPG because there's items to use. There's status effects. I mean, if you take the wrestling veneer off of it, it's just a pretty straightforward throwback RPG. You know,
you mentioned Super Mario RPG, and I was like, all right, you got me interested.
I mean, if you ever played a game that has a timing element in addition to select attack, select your target, and then hit OK, and then you might get prompted for something for a bonus. That's where I get the Mario RPG connection.
Yeah, South Park obviously did that too. That's where I know it from, because I tend to not play turn-based combat games.
Fair.
So the only ones I can recognize that from is South Park, even though they were clearly borrowing that from other RPG games that I'll never play, which is so interesting. It's like, Jeff, you hate that type of gameplay, but you loved it in South Park.
Well, because it's a hilarious game. So
it's true. It is funny. Yeah. So you develop a patience for it, for things you love, I guess. But yeah, man, I can't wait. It's I didn't even play through that far. I just kept getting beat by the same guy at a certain point. Because the game is actually it can be tough if you're like bad at I'm bad at these games. So I'm still sold on it though. That early, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna buy this. This is ridiculous.
Obviously, because it's professional wrestling, you can have a victory without winning the match. And so there's one element of the demo where you're playing, it kind of throws you over to a different character you get to control, and you're doing a tag team match, and you're not supposed to win. You're supposed to accomplish these challenges. Make sure you attack this character with this type of special move, and then make sure you try to pin them but let them jump out. And so I had to purposefully miss the box. And the idea, and at the end, like it said victory, like you got experience points for it because you successfully completed that battle the way you were supposed to. So they're incorporating
the script. You followed the storyline.
Yeah. It's still real to me.
It's still real to me, damn it.
So I thought that was great. Let me read to you real quick some of the demos that I have downloaded. I did also buy, I haven't played yet. I bought American Theft 80s because I really liked Thief Simulator, and this is basically that, but it's the 80s version where you're still
so everybody's in a turtleneck.
The 80s version.
You're still like VCRs and stuff and neon.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Let's see.
Oh, I see now. Okay, I was like, I don't know what the hell I was talking about. My God. I gotta stop eating the edible before I do this.
Damn it, Jeff.
So I think I talked about this already, but I've got Chaos Galaxy demo downloaded, ready to play. I want to try that one because Kyle recommended it, and it looks really cool. It's kind of got a Fire Emblem-y look to it, but kind of set in space. ANNO Mutationem, I have that demo downloaded, ready to try.
Yes.
I downloaded one called Contraband Police, where you are literally like at a border patrol and you're like investigating cars as they go by and either stamping approved or not. Like you have to search through all the. I was like, I gotta try this. I gotta try this.
You and your damn mundane.
It's a border patrol simulator. That's what that is. That's official border patrol, not the
But the look of
not
it,
the rogue people.
Kind of looks like Eastern European. The way that the game looks and the text, so I don't know if it's set.
I mean, what's next, Tim? What's next? Nose blowing simulator.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
You didn't wipe off the part that's the booger that's stuck in your mustache.
Take a nap
or whatever.
simulator. Like
I downloaded this demo for this game called Frozen Flame. It looks awesome. The art style kind of has a cartoony, cel-shaded look to it. This is how they describe it: a challenging exploration and survival adventure set in the dying world of dragons. Only those who harness the power of the frozen flame have the means to survive. So lots of crafting, building.
I saw this one on the list.
So this one looks really cool. So I downloaded the demo. I haven't tried that one yet. Ghost Song, which I think the art style of Ghost Song looks amazing. So I downloaded that. That's a side-scrolling game that's got some really cool lighting effects on it. So I'm going to give that one a try as well.
That one does look cool.
Yeah, I thought that one looked neat. A couple of city builder ones like Grimgrad, which I thought looked cool.
I'm gonna go take a nap. You're talking.
Lost. So I downloaded a demo for Lost Eidolons, and I was hoping to play it before we recorded, but I didn't get to it yet because I got pulled back into the Quarry. But it's a turn-based tactical RPG, and the visuals look really cool. So you should check out Lost Eidolons.
Eidolons? I think it's Eidolons.
Oh, Eidolons. Really?
I think so. I believe so.
Okay. I think that's all I wanted to highlight. Oh, I did download the demo for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. I need to play that.
Oh, nice.
Give that a whirl.
Oh, I played Angerfoot. I put that on.
Angerfoot, yeah.
It's what a just completely nonsense, ridiculous. I'm tripping on acid, like, and like when you die, you can actually like shift the camera. So when the enemy that just killed you is like standing over your body, he's just gyrating like over your dead body. Like it's fantastic.
It's so good.
What a wacky game.
All right, well, I want to jump into some of the announcements, and I guess you could call them presentations we saw this week. Some of them were more official than others, but I want to start off with the two that aired on Friday. The first one, we'll do the Dragon's Dogma one because that one's much simpler, much more straightforward. It was literally a Dragon's Dogma celebration. So if you watched it, and I did kind of skip through it because I haven't played that first game much. I only played it a little bit. I am going to play it though. And they just talked a lot about they talked a lot about like the inspiration for it and what, it was a lot of that. So they're truly celebrating this game, which is fine. And at the end, they all kind of took off their jackets and had the Dragon's Dogma 2 t-shirts, like it's in development. And they all just started clapping. That was it.
Yeah, that clap was so funny.
They didn't, and they looked at each other like, "Oh, we're clapping now." Yeah, we're clapping now. Like,
please clap, like Jeb Bush, right?
Oh my God.
Please clap.
Please clap.
Please clap.
But there wasn't anything really to see there.
Yeah.
But I don't want to downplay this. This is cool. This is great news, especially for fans who have been clamoring for this. And when the Capcom event happened earlier this week, and they didn't get it, there was a lot of disappointment. So it is cool that this week wrapped up with the announcement. So.
That guy, the guy who created Dragon's Dogma, I think is the same as Devil May Cry. So like he obviously likes to make really kind of unique. I mean, I think Devil May Cry is pretty unique, and so is Dragon's Dogma. So.
Wasn't that his first venture out or into the fantasy realm, at least in terms of games he's made?
I think so. Yeah.
I remember that being a big deal.
Dragon's Dogma is it's a really unique game, and it's just really cool. It definitely has a quirky sort of personality. I think is a way to, like when you're actually playing it.
I almost started it up like an hour before I thought we were going to record, and then when I saw Tim's message, I was like, I'll just do TMNT level 2.
Yeah, I'll just play some.
That's gonna take me 5 minutes.
I'll just high five.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going. There's definitely a lot of stuff going.
But I do have it downloaded in the intention of starting it because I've heard way too many good things about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have Dan walk us through the Final Fantasy VII anniversary event in a second. Just wanted to quickly mention there was an Assassin's Creed celebration, which I thought was pretty cool. There was nothing special about it, but it was kind of fun to look back on some of the old AC games. I like this kind of stuff. So it wasn't filled with announcements. We talked about Valhalla a little bit. They are adding new game mode, and they're adding this thing called the Forgotten Saga, which they're calling a roguelike inspired journey into Niflheim. So we'll learn more about that. And then in September,
Niflheim.
They did a long stream of Assassin's Creed Origins while a couple of Ubisoft folks were talking, and they were just playing the game basically. So, and then they did say in September there's going to be another event to talk about the future of Assassin's Creed. I'm going to guess that is, I would imagine, a game announcement for 2023, but who knows? We'll see what that
Assassin's Creed Infinity or whatever they want.
It might be that. Or yeah.
I mean, I get it. These developers, they love the game that they're making, but it's like it just feels like such a hey, like keep us in your brain, like don't forget us, like corporate kind of like. And then oh yeah, and by the way, September. It's like, listen, this wasn't necessary. We get it. Like,
this is
we love certain Assassin's Creed games, but like we don't have to celebrate it.
Like, the Valhalla updates that are on the way could have been part of Summer Game Fest for that matter.
Yeah, for real
thing, but.
And it's the same with Dragon's Dogma, although that kind of just felt more of like a personal thing, which I mean, I get and I appreciate, but still, it's like they could have just done like a like you said, Tim, before, like an email blast, like, oh, Dragon Dogma 2 is in development. It's like, we didn't really need that thing, which wasn't even the first thing. They said they had the Capcom showcase and they said, Dragon's Dogma 10th anniversary celebration, and then that comes and it's really just reminiscing about Dragon's Dogma, and then so. I don't know, whatever.
It was fine. I mean, I think they could have just included the Valhalla details in a different showcase, Xbox or Summer Game Fest or something else.
Absolutely.
And then they could have even just tweeted out or put out an announcement that, hey, in September we're going to be airing Future of Assassin's Creed, so stay tuned. Right. But whatever, it's fine. It is what it is. But
can't stand announcements to announcements.
Right.
I know. And we're about to talk about a game that's by a company.
Exactly what freaking Devolver Digital was talking about.
I know.
This year.
Well, listen, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy, their 25th anniversary celebration video, which was only 10 minutes long, but might have been still one of the better presentations because
that actually was. That was celebrating and giving you some actual.
There was a lot in
there. There was actually quite a bit of news. Yeah,
they did, and a 10 to 12 minute, whatever the total time was, it was very short. But all that to say. I lost my train of thought. Go ahead, Dan. You go ahead and talk about anniversary.
Yeah. So for all you whiny babies that didn't want to download the Epic Store launcher, now you can just download on June 17th. You can get Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. Yes, exactly. On Steam. So there you go, you big damn babies. All right.
It's on sale for the next couple of days. You can get it for $50 on Steam.
There you go. I mean, absolutely worth it. But then again, I'm sure I say that.
Dan, do you know how infuriating it is to have to click somewhere else on my computer?
Hang on. Devil's advocate, because I'm one of those whiny babies. I didn't get out an Epic Game Store because I knew my Steam Deck is arriving sometime in 2022.
That's fair.
Your logic is good.
Yes,
but that logic didn't really exist. There were people that
I got it.
Have
fair enough.
said stuff like this for decades.
It's the tribalism thing. It's the whole like, I don't want
Steam or GTFO.
Yeah, exactly. So cool.
Because it's older, I guess. I don't know.
So it's on Steam. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And then they were showing.
Can I pause real quick? I thought they might be saying it's coming to Xbox for a second.
Oh, sure.
I did think, because they were showing the remake, and I was like, uh-oh. Is it finally? Nope, it's not. Sony's still the best. Sorry,
I'm already laughing at the idea of some people then suddenly hating Final Fantasy. Some people in our group suddenly being like, Final Fantasy was always trash anyway.
Or other people in our group all of a sudden being like, I'm kind of interested to try it. I've always thought it was trash, and I used to put a picture of a trash can with it every time, but I'll try it now that it's on Game Pass.
I like my little Photoshop work of that, by the way.
So okay, go ahead.
That was foreshadowing, actually, Tim, because there was an announcement that is for Xbox, but it's not the main. So that's a whole thing. So yeah, they showed us some collectibles and merchandise that they're going to be releasing, whatever. And then what was it? And then the First Soldier, what is it? Battle Royale game that's only on mobile still. To be honest, I would give that a shot. I would just try it out if it was at least on frickin' PC or something. It's like, why did these things have to just be? I get it. In Japan, a lot of them like to play mobile, but it's like, at least do PC also. Please, just do PC also. I'd give it a shot, but I'm not going to play it on my phone because that's not where I play real games, because that's not where real games are. So, but then the first major announcement, which was the foreshadowing, Tim, is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. So basically
they're just putting words on either side of Final Fantasy VII now and making a new game.
Reunion is an important word for the series. Reunion is an important word for the series.
You're fantastic beasting this series. What's going on? This one game.
So
Final Fantasy VII and where to find them.
So Crisis Core, Jeff is not really. You're not really familiar with Zack the character, Jeff. Because you've only played Remake, so you saw a guy with black hair.
So this is the guy that So this is his side.
He's a huge character in the lore.
For some reason, I thought it was called something else.
So this is a prequel, Jeff. This is a prequel.
No, okay.
So that's why you didn't really see Zack in that game, and then at the end, it's like Zack's there, and then there's a whole like hoopla, which you're not aware because
I thought it was is that Zack wasn't in Final Fantasy VII at all.
He was at the very end,
right?
Oh, he was at the very end.
Well, that's the thing. I can't.
Not the remake.
Sorry,
I mean the original game.
Is that spoiler?
Well, so that's why I'm trying to dance around it for Jeff because he hasn't played the original game. Well, I don't think you really said.
It doesn't matter though because because I've only played the remake, and in the remake he shows up way early in the story that you guys know. You know, like I mean, sounds like they're reworking a lot of details.
That's why I'm trying to dance around because for you, I'm guessing you're never gonna play the original 7, right?
Probably not. No.
Okay.
Not unless it looks like the remake.
You get a lot of right. Well, I was gonna say it's a shame because then you would get certain context and sort of there would be more levity, but it's fine because I mean you could still play this game and you're still getting something out of it, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is pretty cool because it's almost like a remaster remake. Like it looked definitely nicer and more detailed, but it wasn't quite on the level of 7
of the main line, right?
Yeah,
right.
But it still definitely looks pretty solid. And has like flashier combat, but like it's still using kind of like the roulette system. I haven't played Crisis Core in years, so I don't remember. I
don't remember liking it that much.
I didn't hate it, but it was definitely weird. It was definitely a little quirky. But it has almost like a roulette system, yeah. But yeah, so they're kind of definitely keeping those elements there.
When did the Crisis Core come out? Like how long after the original game?
Jeez. Well, Crisis Core, it was PSP.
Oh, PSP.
PSP.
So it was on the handheld. It was.
It's one of the best. 7 was what gen? What gen? So what gen did the original game come out? I thought that was like an old.
That was
game.
2007. Was Crisis Core.
2007. Yeah. Okay. So PS 1997 was the original Final Fantasy.
So this was 10 years after the original game. This game.
Okay.
This was all part of This was all part of like sort of the compilation new stuff that they were making. So they had Before Crisis, which was like a mobile game, cell phone game. And then they had Advent Children, so the movie, which takes place after the original 7.
Is it like an anime or?
It's like a CG. It's a CG movie.
Oh, like Spirits Within or whatever.
Yeah. It's not like great like dialogue wise or anything like that. Like it's not bad. Like I obviously I love it because it's Final Fantasy 7, but like the choreography and the fighting in that movie is fantastic.
What Advent Children? Is that what you were talking about?
Yes.
I loved that. Yeah.
Yeah, great scenes. Like the Bahamut scene, like when he's just like flying up towards Bahamut is just
not an incredibly strong narrative movie, but boy, is it visually and action wise really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's visually stimulating.
Crisis Core prequel, very cool. Glad that they're remaking that. And then we finally got some footage and the announcement and the name of the next remake game, Final Fantasy VII Remake Rebirth.
But they're not putting the word remake in there, right? It's just Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Right, because remake for the first one has meaning other than what traditionally people think of literally with video games remaking them. Right. So that's why my friend Brandon, when I had the conversation with him, I was trying to explain that to him, and he was like, "Oh, it's just corporate bullshit,
dude.
Blah blah blah." And it's like, listen,
time to go throw this back in his face.
Oh yeah, I'm doing it.
Oh, especially when the third part, because I know you haven't said it yet, but they announced the part 3.
Yes, so
the third part's going to be a reword as well, probably.
Oh, absolutely.
Rehash.
And I actually have a theory myself. I don't know if anyone found it this way. But I have an idea.
There's other R words that we can't say anymore that it could be.
Really alpha as AF, right? Really alpha as AF.
Re-alpha.
But so basically they showed a quick snippet and there was dialogue playing over it, but it's a scene that is from a flashback. So once you leave Midgar and Cloud is sort of like kind of divulging some information to the gang at the first town that you hit in the original game in the open world, he's kind of giving them information. And then there's some flashback stuff. So that's what this is. It's basically this mountain area that's outside of Nibelheim, which is a town that's very important.
I can picture the PS1 version of this mountain.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's why Sephiroth is there, but I'm not going to say too much other than that. But there's a reason why Cloud and Sephiroth are there walking along. It's a flashback scene. It's very important. But there's dialogue happening when they were showing that's super important. Like there's Aerith is saying something about like rewriting you can't change the future, but you can, or the future's already set in stone, but maybe you can still change it. I forget the exact wording. And then somebody's saying something about dying, and I thought it was Aerith. I was like, oh shit, like is Cloud talking to Aerith about dying? But then it's actually Tifa, so it's clearly Cloud referring to the vision that he had in Remake 1. There's that scene where like Sephiroth is killing all of them and the meteor's coming down, so clearly he's like just straight up being like, I had this vision where you were all dying. And Tifa's like, well, do you think I'm not even real or something like that? And then the next piece is Zack seeming like he's talking to Aerith, but it's like where it would be taking place in the timeline, I can't really say because, yeah, so.
I hope, here's the thing, even as you're saying it, some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't, even though I've played the old game through, I've played that game a lot.
Yes.
But I hope that they make this make sense. I don't need another convoluted, only if you're so into this and you've got tattoos of it will you ever understand it. Like, I want them to tell a clear story.
You don't want them to Kingdom Hearts
serious.
Like, basically?
I don't want them to make it so obtuse that unless you're already a hardcore fan, you won't get it. And I thought they did a good job with Remake of telling a pretty easy to follow story.
That wasn't,
Yes, that wasn't obtuse. And I just don't want them to go so far down the rabbit hole that I'm going.
I think it's
only for the really special people. Got it.
Nomura is definitely a weird dude. He's the creator of Kingdom Hearts, so I mean that kind of tells you something. But
if they start talking about souls on this one, I'm out. If they start saying something about this, your soul and my soul combined to make 3 souls, and then those if they start doing that, I'm out.
I think you could honestly just boil it down to 7 Remake it ends with sort of Sephiroth kind of opening a window and the crew, fighting Fate, opening a window to things being different.
Yeah.
And now Fate is not so much kind of tethering everything to stay exactly the same.
And they all agree to go together at the end.
Yeah. And Sephiroth obviously wants to just destroy everybody. That's what he wanted to do originally, in the original one. Obviously.
He's like Thanos.
Yeah. So I think if they can kind of just keep that
Thanos
as the
actually
baseline.
had some good points, you guys.
You're right. My bad.
He
My
did.
bad.
But
actually,
yeah, I mean, there'll definitely be some JRPG just convoluted wonkiness. There definitely will be, but I think
fine.
Yeah, I think if you kind of just keep in mind, it's like, all right, well, there's definitely going to be some curveballs thrown in here because now we're not quite on the same path as before because of XYZ reason that I can't say. Then again, Zack also playing into this is very important, and for people who played the original, it's like, oh shit, like what's going on? So.
Yeah. I like the idea of them reimagining what those of us who have played before have already experienced and kind of, maybe giving us some unexpected stuff. I love that. But I love even more the idea of them saying, hey, we are telling the story fresh and here's how we're going to make it what makes sense to those who have been here before. Right. But we don't need to connect all the dots for the newcomers.
This is why, when they first announced all of this stuff and they were like, oh, it's going to be parts and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like my first gut reaction was like, oh, I mean, I don't know. And then, action combat, I don't know. But now it's like at this point, Remake is great. I like where they're going with this. The original still exists. It still exists.
Exactly.
And I mean, just be freaking honest with yourselves. Just would people really just like what this game looks like, but literally photocopied of the original? Would you really actually like that? Because I mean, what's going to happen. It's not special. Like it just looks prettier and it would be voiced and that's cool. But like you're literally going to know what's going to happen next. Like,
by the way, one thing I meant to say with the Crisis Core trailer, I feel like they showed a character who's a new character in Remake. The guy on the motorcycle, was he in Crisis Core? I thought they showed.
No, he wasn't on there.
Oh, I thought it was him. Okay, never
mind. It's just I'm not sure which character you're referring, but he's definitely not. He's definitely not.
I want to know more about who that person is because he's new and
because there's a different class of soldiers, right? So Cloud is a first class, Sephiroth is a first class soldier. Right. He's I forget if he says he's first class. He's some class, if not first class. So,
but he's new. He wasn't in the original game.
So that's actually why he's kind of interesting, even though he's a super weird character, is like them actually showing like, oh, here's like all these other first class or other type of soldiers that are not just the grunts.
Well, maybe he'll be in Rebirth more.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like characters like that need to be fleshed out a bit more.
Spoiler alert, I think we're going to see him deteriorating over time because of the Mako, which is supposed to do that. That's what's supposed to happen. So we're going to see him getting all sort of like insane and demented.
Like a Dementor?
He's a Dementor. He's going to turn into a Dementor. But yeah, like Jeff said, this is going to be 3 parts. It's official. So basically, like the original was 3 discs. We're going to get 3 whole separate games. It's going to be very epic and very cool. I have theories on what the third one's going to be, but I can't say because they'll spoil it for Jeff.
Reborn.
This is Rebirth. That'd be hilarious if they go with Reborn.
Yes. It's going to be reanimate, and it's
It'd be very Japanese of them. Like, they'd be like, no, trust me, it makes sense. And all of us idiots in America are like, what?
Well,
it's the same word, kind of.
Since Mako or Mako, whatever that is that main energy stuff, maybe it's going to be Remako, and that'll be the third one.
Yes, Remako.
I love that.
A lot of good options.
It's good. I like that.
Capcom had a showcase earlier this week as well, where they showed a good amount of Monster Hunter Rise.
Sorry, real quick. They said next winter is Rebirth. So that's
So what does that mean?
So
does that mean like December to February, like 23, 24?
Right. So definitely. Winter? Well, I'd say because March. I think March 20. I think 20th is the last day of this.
January to March,
winter.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So as long as nothing gets delayed, then we're looking at February, March.
And so the Crisis Core, this coming like 2023. First quarter, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Maybe think of it as like Q1 2023 for Crisis Core, and they're targeting Q1 2024 for Rebirth.
Yeah. So very exciting.
Yep, that is cool. Which would be, wouldn't that be something else if they actually land it?
Yeah.
If they actually get
with
Final
16,
Fantasy
right?
16 in 2023, and they actually get Rebirth in that first quarter of 2024. I'm not expecting either one of those to land those, but boy, would I love. I'm rooting for it though. I want them to.
If 16 gets delayed, then
I'll take it.
Rebirth is going to get delayed also, because I don't think they don't want them close to each other. They want to space it out. Like
I think 16's coming first. I agree with you, unless something crazy happens. Okay, Capcom had a showcase. They showed a couple cool things that I wanted to highlight. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, which does look like a pretty significant expansion, and they keep putting in the subtitle massive expansion. They just don't want you to forget this is a massive expansion. I don't know why they didn't just make Monster Hunter Sunbreak and make it a new game, but whatever. The demo's out now. I did download it. I need to try it out, but that game comes out here in about a week and a half, so go check that one out. A lot of cool footage was shown there if you're interested in that. Street Fighter 6 got no love. I really thought this would be a lot about Street Fighter 6, but all they said was we hope you enjoyed the reveal of Street Fighter 6. More announcements later this year. I was like, oh,
okay.
Messed up, man.
All right.
Yeah.
I expected like half of this to be Street Fighter 6.
Right. Yeah.
So did I. I really did. Capcom Fighting Collection, they did kind of transition into that, how there's these arcade era fighting games coming out on June 24th. Most of these are pretty obscure. Some never came out in the US.
Rebirth.
So I haven't heard of some of these. Some of the characters look so wacky, but I'm also kind of intrigued by it a little bit. So if this is something that's going to be on a subscription service like Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, I'll totally try it. I don't see myself spending money on it, but I am curious. I think you can download it. No, that's the arcade collection. Sorry.
I was going to say shout out to Darkstalkers, because these collections have been giving those some love, and I know that series has like a really hardcore niche following. So.
Well, they are coming out with the Capcom Arcade Second Stadium. So if you played the first Capcom Arcade, you can download it and you have to purchase the games. Or I think you can even buy like access to the whole collection if you want to. But if you just download it, you get at least one free kind of old school arcade game to play. That comes out in July. Exo Primal kind of looks pretty bad. I think it's that Dinosaur Warriors meets. Anthem a little bit. I don't know. It just doesn't look very good.
No, I agree.
What was
it just feels cheap to me. I don't know why.
It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look interesting. Like
Lost Planet vibes a little bit with dinosaurs, right? Maybe.
Yeah, like, but not even as cool as that. Like I thought Lost Planet looked cooler than that.
I mean, this just looks like dumb fun. Like you just want to laugh at it because it's a tsunami of freaking raptors. But like,
it has a little bit of a Warriors game vibe, right? Where you're just going through swarms of enemies, like the Muso games. But it doesn't look nearly as fun as those even. So
just Dino Crisis, guys. Just make a freaking Dino Crisis game.
Please
for the love
make
of God.
it that. I would love a Dino Crisis remake. Do that.
What are you doing?
Dragon's Dogma we already talked about. They did a kind of a short tease for that video later in the week. Resident Evil Village got a lot of announcements, a lot of new content coming at the end of October called the Winters expansion, which is going to add a new storyline called Shadows of Rose, which if you played Resident Evil Village, at the very end you got kind of a little epilogue featuring the character Rose. So sorry if that's a spoiler for you, but that's the way it is. The Mercenaries additional orders gonna have new characters and content. I never played this, but this is like the kind of arcade, I think, version where you kind of it's like a survival
Yeah,
but it's arcade action, I think.
Yeah, it's timed, and you're trying to like get points, and then you get more time, and kind of keep stacking that to try to get as much points as possible. So,
and I think now you can be Heisenberg, and can you be Lady D in this as well?
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
that's
you
cool.
can.
That's cool.
Oh yeah.
Although first person Lady D, it doesn't really. That's not the part.
Unless you can like look down and you're like, whoa.
at your own biddies. Yeah.
Maybe that's some of the VR stuff they're adding.
Your wife will know immediately what game you're playing.
Well, it's gonna be on the screen.
What game
right?
you playing? Don't worry about
it. They're also adding.
You shake them like this.
This. She's like, why are you dancing like that?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, babe. Third person mode is a weird one. So
no, this is my favorite part. This was my favorite announcement.
Okay, all right, yeah, great. That's great. So I thought that Resident Evil 7 and 8 were kind of. I think of them the same way I think of the new Assassin's Creed trilogy, where they took a beloved franchise and they were just like, let's rethink this and go a different direction. And so the first person perspective for 7 I thought worked really well. Super spooky, worked really well. It's fun to play. It didn't take away from the other versions. And then I thought 8, same thing. And then now they're adding third person mode, where it's this full original game with now over the shoulder mode with a whole bunch of new animations added in for Ethan, so you can kind of play this like you would an old game. I have no problem with this. I just thought it was kind of a weird inclusion, because it feels like the vision of this game was these are first person games. Sure. But I don't know.
I will say it's weird to just do it for this game, but then still leave 7 as first person. I mean, you have the option here still to play for it. So I mean, but I don't know. I guess that feels a little strange to kind of just not also do that for 7.
Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe they'll add that in. And then we got more Resident Evil 4 details and footage. Not a whole lot new.
What, like 15 seconds, like.
But there was just some more they talked about there. Yeah. They are also going to be adding upgrading Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3 for the new, the current gen consoles, as well as updates for the PC versions. They're saying, I think these are free. Did I read that right?
Yeah.
Free if you already own the game. Yeah. Yep. 4K ray tracing, higher frame rate, the whole 9 yards for
very exciting
newer systems. So yeah, so I think overall good news if you like Capcom stuff. Nothing super groundbreaking there though. So if it wasn't going to be Street Fighter 6 blowout of news, I was anticipating 4, and we didn't. So now I'm almost kind of in Kyle's camp of like, this is going to get delayed. Like, why didn't they have like a whole like nice chunky slice to show us? You know what I mean? Like, that was weird to me. That was weird. I don't know. I feel like it could get delayed, but I think that release window and the timing is right on par with Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Sure.
And actually for this one, they've actually had 2 years as opposed to wasn't there just 1 year between 2 and 3, or was there 2?
It was 1. It was 1, I believe.
Right, and now there's going to have been 2 years between RE3 and RE4. But
just thought it was weird. They literally only showed us like 15 seconds of him walking around. It's like, all right, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that could be because it's not ready, and boy, is that 323 thing a red herring. But I don't know. I think it's going to come out in March.
We'll see.
Year.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm more confident of that than I am of the Final Fantasy.
All right. You don't believe in Yoshida, Tim. That's why you don't believe in Yoshida.
When it comes to release dates,
I believe.
All right, let's talk about the Xbox Games Showcase Extended to close things out here. They started things off with, of course, this made me get up out of my chair, you guys. Jeff liked that one. Jeff liked that.
I got up out of my seat.
I stood
and
up.
Cheered.
Yes, I did.
What is that?
We're just making fun of some people in the group who say that about the most obscure crap.
Sure. 7-year-old fighting game.
They refused to get up for stuff that took like 100 people 4 years to make because they think it's too corporate. But someone just quickly threw together a quick up-res of something that's been out for 10 years, and that makes you stand up.
Sure.
Okay, so my favorite game from last year is going to be coming to Game Pass.
Can this be the rest of the show where we just talk crap? Or...
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. My favorite game from last year, Valheim, is coming to Game Pass. It's going to be here this fall as part of the. If you've played Game Pass on PC, they oftentimes will have the preview. You'll have essentially early access games on Game Pass. They do that sometimes, and so does the Xbox. But anyway, Valheim is going to be on PC this fall. They didn't say when, but sometime this fall it'll be in the PC preview because it's an early access on Steam. Makes sense. I would imagine they're going to try to time that with their next big update Once that's out, and then they smooth out some of those bugs that are inevitable, then I assume we'll see it on Game Pass. And then it's supposed to hit Xbox in the spring. And that, to me, the fact they're saying spring 2023 tells me, all right, that's when they're anticipating 1.0 full game to be ready. It might not be. That might be optimistic, but if they're able to focus in on this major upcoming update, I think they've got one more for the game to technically be finished with a few things that they want to add to it after that. But I could be wrong on that one.
Dude, so, this is what I've been anticipating, the console release. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
It is.
I think they found their. I think they found their exclusive console. There we go.
It is a console launch exclusive, which means there's probably plans to bring this to PlayStation and Switch. I think
that makes me think spring will be early access for kind of like Grounded was for a bit.
Could be.
So that makes me think that
and then maybe the
early
full
access, and then the full game goes to all
later that fall. Maybe. Yeah. They are going to have.
I love how far along this is coming, though. This is amazing news.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this is a team of 6 people, maybe.
Have they beefed up their team at all?
They've added a few community folks to help with marketing and communications, but as far as I know, they haven't added a lot on the dev side. It's kind of I would see how it's hard to do that because this has been your baby for so long, and now to bring in another developer because you kind of know where you're going. I don't know. There's something about that. I get it, and they did confirm over Twitter that they are outsourcing the ports. That way, they can stay focused on finishing the base game. So that's great, and they've got all that Microsoft money now, so why not outsource that bad boy?
Absolutely.
So there is going to be crossplay, which is really important in a game like this. So if you, whether it's on Steam, consoles, whatever, I don't know how that's going to work. Again, we talked about this earlier with crossplay on other games. Does that mean you have to make some sort of Valheim specific account that then goes across these? I don't know how they're going to do that, or if it's going to be like type in the IP for which one you want to join.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. But we'll see. We'll see how they.
That makes sense.
Interesting.
All right. I'll kind of fly through some of these because it wasn't a lot of new stuff. There's a lot of cool deep dives they did during this extended showcase. Not a ton of new announcements, but a few. They talked a lot about Redfall, Elder Scrolls Online, Starfield, and a few other Bethesda games. So I thought that was kind of cool. Again, if you like Bethesda games, they dug in on some of those. Redfall to me does look like it's going to be a lot of fun. And they did emphasize that you
really
can play
generic
solo.
too.
I know. They did emphasize you
can play
it. You can play it solo or you can squad up, but they wanted to emphasize you can experience this solo, which is encouraging to someone like me who my gaming time is all over the place depending on family stuff.
And Starfield is basically just No Man's Sky photocopied. So
it's literally the same exact game. Oh my gosh.
That's so funny. Like we clearly didn't see. There's going to be over 1,000 planets. We clearly didn't even scratch the surface and all the different environments they're going to have. Everyone's like, everything was so washed out. I'm like, yeah, they were on like a moon planet in a white spaceship. Like they chose to show us a very thin slice. That's why it's not coming out this fall.
Yeah. A sliver.
It's one planet.
Whatever.
It's like getting mad at the movie Interstellar if they staying on Earth for like 45 minutes.
It's like, do you guys not understand how space works? I mean, like, God damn it.
I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I thought showed pretty poorly. I didn't think they looked very good.
It looks so bad to me.
Does it?
So bad.
So you see stuff like Evil Dead or Dead by Daylight. I just think those look way better. This just didn't look that good, but we'll see.
I also thought the voice acting was utterly terrible.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
I don't know.
A couple of behind the scenes things. I don't have to touch on all of those. I thought the Hot Wheels DLC for Forza Horizon 5 looks really cool. That'll be out on July 19th. I just think that looks like a lot of fun. They did a really cool thing to close it out where they allowed the devs of Stalker 2 to essentially put together their own little mini documentary isn't the right word, but it was kind of like a behind the scenes of what we're going through over here in Ukraine. And it was very real, very raw, and I just thought really impactful. So regardless of your opinions on how things are unfolding across the world, I still think that was a very interesting and poignant human story behind all that.
So they're actually like still going into the office working on
some left, some were given like offices in neighboring countries.
Sure.
Some of them they showed specifically who they joined the military to help defend their country. Some of the explosions and damage they showed was right down the street. They were like, we worked 2 blocks from here, and like it was scary and real. And then they did show the opening of the game to show like, we're excited to make this for you. So I just thought the whole thing was pretty interesting. I do recommend watching.
God damn.
Well, yeah, I have to watch that.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I need to cry.
I need a good cry, you guys.
I have tears I need to release.
All right, let's go through a couple quick hits of headlines, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Amazon Prime is giving away up to 30 games on Prime Day, including Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Star Wars Jedi Academy, which is a great throwback game, by the way. If you like Star Wars, I think that game is really, really fun. And a whole bunch of others. You can go check out what games they'll be giving away on Prime Day. This is interesting. A follow-up. We've talked about this before, but Activision Blizzard's internal investigation finds that it didn't ignore any harassment. Their internal investigation. So they did an investigation.
Sure, right. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Investigation.
But I got to read this to you real quick. So here's their summary. Contrary to many of the allegations, the board and its external advisors have determined that there is no evidence that suggests that Activision Blizzard's senior executives were ever intentionally ignored or attempted to downplay the instances of gender harassment that occurred and were reported. That work also has not unearthed any evidence, directly or indirectly, suggesting that any attempt by any senior executive or employee to conceal information from the board. It does reference, though, some substantial instances of gender harassment that does not conclude that it was a widespread issue. Over the years, the company has appropriately disciplined and exited employees to ensure blah, 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 blah. So if this weren't an internal investigation, I'd be like, oh, interesting. Maybe, we need to wait till investigations, but this is internal. So I'm like, well.
Also, well, guys, the board themselves are criminal investigators. They're investigators. They know what they're doing. They're a board of old,
and they can put their own biases aside. They have no stake in it.
Bobby K. Like, what? Bobby K signed this? What?
Bobby K. Bobby Boucher.
I have a feeling that Vince McMahon is going to copy and paste this statement.
Dude, I watched the clip of him on SmackDown. I was like, that guy.
Oh yeah,
that was his very calm version of doing the Leonardo DiCaprio scene from Wolf of Wall Street. It was basically his way of saying, in so few words, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's exactly what that was.
Yeah.
But Stephanie's in charge right now, right? Didn't he have to step down?
As far as like investors,
sure.
That's the news they put out there for the investors to be calm about it.
But he made a very visible public, you ain't getting rid of me that easy type statement.
Yeah.
And without saying that, he just introduced SmackDown and reminded us of the 4 words, blah, blah, blah. It was just like that. I know exactly what he's saying.
So what you're telling me is he's not going to be easily broken in half, is what you're telling me.
He is not.
I think he specifically went out there to get cheered. He went out there to get cheered and he got it.
Sure.
And I think that was the message.
Sure.
It was a bit of a mixed cheer, but it was still pretty significant in his favor.
Yeah.
Diablo Immortal has reportedly earned Blizzard over $24 million, according to this data from the market intelligence tool AppMagic. This is published by Pocket Gamer, and it's also been downloaded over 8.5 million times. So it makes sense that it's making that much money. So if they only average $3 per download, that's $24 million. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Chump change. We should be making triple digit or whatever, 6 digits or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Fire half the team.
How many freaking millions am I thinking? Oh my god.
All the millions, Jeff.
I love Edible Jeff. This is so funny to me. The Quarry, which we're just talking about because we're all playing it or have just finished playing it, and High on Life, that new kind of talking gun, silly game.
Oh wow.
Those were both Google Stadia exclusive games. Ooh. Originally, they were signed that way, but those contracts, of course, were null and void when Google decided to dramatically decrease its internal gaming focus. Sure. What was that? Last year they did that, and so then that's when they were on the search for new publishers for these. Could you imagine? I mean, High on Life, we don't know anything about yet. That would be kind of like, oh, that's an interesting one as an exclusive game. But the Quarry, I think that would have been a big deal for folks to know they have to go play it on Stadia Cloud. So
yeah, that would not have done the numbers that it's probably doing.
No.
Yeah. So we're really enjoying the Steam Next Fest this coming week, the 21st through the 27th. Xbox Summer Game Fest is going to have up to 30 demos, and this is mostly for unreleased indie games. They're temporarily available, so it's one of those things where you got to download and play them during this event, and then the demos are going to no longer work. And Steam does that too with Next Fest. You'll notice if you keep one downloaded and the fest is over, it might now just say go to store page instead of play. So anyway, that's going to be happening over this next week. Some of them might be crossovers with what we're playing on Steam, but there might be some new stuff in there. Pokemon Snap is coming to the N64 Virtual Console on Nintendo Switch Online. That's the next big N64 game. And last thing I wanted to read is this rumor that I read recently.
Woo, by the way, I'm sarcastically wooing. Nobody cares about Pokemon.
Really important rumor that I read. Did you guys see this? Did you guys see this rumor that
I'm shocked.
The PS5 console design is kind of ugly? Did you see this rumor?
Tim, I am utterly shocked and flabbergasted.
Has that been there the whole show?
Yeah, I just saw that earlier, but I didn't want to start laughing. Like, what the hell is this? What is this shit? Like,
yeah, I put that in the notes because I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
that's just a rumor, though, guys. I cannot confirm. I mean, yes, I own one. Yes, it's obnoxious. Yes, it takes up too much space. Yes, it's kind of an eyesore in our living room, but it's a rumor. Because some people have told me that it's a gorgeous design. So I don't know. I might not know what I'm talking about.
I'm shocked.
You have such an uninformed opinion.
I know. But I own one. You don't know. Oh, right.
You're not owning it right.
But I own it, and this is my opinion. I don't dislike it. I just sorry, don't stop hitting me. Oh boy. All right. I think that's all we got for this week. Too bad that Kyle and Derek couldn't join us. There was a lot here. Some of the stuff that we talked about, I know Kyle and Derek have been chiming in the chat as well, so I know they had thoughts. But maybe next week, actually, I think over the next week or two, planning on doing another quiz or so, because I know I'm assuming that our news volume is going to be lower, but who knows? Maybe it won't be. If a Nintendo Direct does land, like someone like Alana Pierce is predicting, then maybe we'll have more in the coming weeks. But for right now, I'm expecting for things to really quiet down, and it's just going to be kind of back to the grindstone.
Well, I don't know, man. There's an Annapurna showcase in July that could break everything. So.
Good, but even that's not for 6 more weeks. So
that's a while.
We got a while. The anticipation is killing me.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Oh, you got one more thing,
Tim. You made a new thing. Why don't you talk? Just real quick, mention it.
Oh, yeah. So please go check out our YouTube channel. We're trying out a whole bunch of different content, stuff that's just fun for us to do, to talk about, whether it's Dan doing a Let's Play. Jeff is planning on doing more of his really short, really awesome movies.
Are they, Jeff?
He's got some.
They don't take 10 seconds to make.
But those are really funny. So check out the one that we've got there, and he's going to be making some more. I just made our first current hype video. The idea being we need to put a little more positivity out there. There's so many videos out there like why this game is going to suck or why this developer is the worst. Like, all right. And I understand that does good SEO because people will literally search that stuff because people are the worst. But I also want to put out some content that's just about positivity. Like, I'm excited for this game, and here's why. And I've talked about it on the show a little bit, but I pretty much just talk over some B-roll of the game and why I'm really excited about it. So go check that out too. The first one is for Nightingale. I've got, at least off the top of my head, 5 or 6 more that I've already got some notes on that I want to do. Like, here's why I'm hyped about this game that's coming out. So it's okay to be excited. So,
please be excited.
Please be excited. Please clap. Dan, I put Jeff on the spot a couple weeks ago. This time it's your turn to leave us with some words of wisdom. This is something that we don't do all the time, but sometimes we do. And I just want to throw it to you to close us out. What are your words of wisdom for the listeners?
People like to eat all sorts of different kinds of treats, right? Just various kinds of treats. Some people like frozen yogurt. Frozen yogurt is basically the celery of desserts. Be ice cream or be nothing. 0 stars.
I feel that one right here. That was a good one. That was excellent.
I actually didn't know where that was going. You had me going for quite a bit there.
That was almost as twisty-turny as the Quarry. That was good. All right,
my sense of humor died with that joke.
God damn it.